We are here to talk a little fantasy football. We are here to talk a little bit about life, the purpose of it, the whole 9 yards. Of course, no. We're just going to stick to fantasy here, do what we do best. Before we get into any of your questions, I do want to talk about some of the news that we have, right? I mean, we had a couple players getting cut. We get a couple coaches getting fired. It's actually pretty eventful Tuesday, to be honest. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, T. Higgins does not practice today. Playing on Thursday, we already told that he's most likely going to miss. I think we assume that you have no T. Higgins on Thursday. This does mean you can start Tyler Boyd if you really wanted to. We ranked Tyler Boyd as a wide receiver 3 this week. You have to keep in mind, while you can start him, it is a pretty tough matchup going up against Baltimore. So by no means am I running out and saying, oh, Boyd is someone I am pumped to get in. Now, Michael Carter was released by the Jets. Now, obviously, Michael Carter himself not going to have a massive impact in fantasy. However, for what this means with Breece Hall, I actually think this does move the needle just a bit, right? Because if you are looking at Hall, this is a running back that would get taken off the field at the very end of games where Michael Carter would go out there and get involved as a receiver somewhat. Maybe you have Breece Hall instead in that garbage time for the Jets. Now, Joe Brady is going to be taken over as the Bills offensive coordinator for the time being because Ken Dorsey was fired here. A lot of people were calling for some change to happen in Buffalo. I know this wasn't necessarily exactly what people were looking for, but I have no idea the impact that this is going to have. I still think Josh Allen's an elite level quarterback from a fantasy perspective. I still think Stefon Diggs is an elite level wide receiver in fantasy. I still think Dalton Kincaid is that borderline top 5 tight end after the Dawson Knox injury. So let me know, what do y'all think? Do you think this helps or hurts the Buffalo Bills offense with the change in offensive coordinator? Please let me know in the live chat. I'm honestly not making any dramatic changes on how I'm viewing this team right now, just because simply I don't know what to do, if I'm going to be honest with you. But we got Naeem saying it's going to hurt the offense. And if you're going to let me know if it helps or hurts, would be nice to know an explanation as well. Because I can sit here and go, okay, it's going to hurt. I have no idea freaking why. But I don't really see too many people weighing in here on if the change is going to help or hurt. So maybe we go ahead. Maybe we just dive into some of the questions that we have here, ladies and gentlemen. I will say, if you go to flockfantasy.com and look at the community rankings right now, I guess we can do that. Let's see if the Buffalo Bills guys have changed at all today. Now, of course, these are free rankings on flockfantasy.com. As we mentioned a million times, if you go over to the rankings page, you are going to get prompted with 4 guys, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to be looking at 4 random players. In this case, Gabe Davis, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Jake Ferguson. You're going to go through, rank them how you'd want them. I'd rank them somewhat like this. And we take that data point on the back end. We have hundreds of thousands of data points that we can look at. And we go through and we make these community rankings for y'all. The expert rankings are behind a paywall. However, the community rankings are not. As it stands right now, if you're going to be looking at the Buffalo guys, currently, Stefon Diggs is at 8 overall, directly behind Lamb and Keenan Allen. You have Josh Allen falling down to 20, which is considerably lower than where he was previously. And let's see where we have Kincaid and James Cook. So Diggs at 8 overall, Allen at 20 overall, Kincaid at 54. He's kind of been stuck in this range. I mean, right in between Debo, Javonte Williams. I mean, I think you pop him up. I think he is that top 5 tight end. James Cook at 90. Honestly, fair price point. Gabe Davis, 94. Yeah, so it looks like there weren't too many dramatic changes with these Buffalo guys with this news. But I think that should be about it for the news that we have today. Let's go ahead and let's start answering some questions here. Go Bills says, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex, full PPR. Saquon, Etienne, Walker, Lamb, Hopkins, Godwin. Do you like Watson or Wilson rest of season? I'm assuming you're meaning Deshaun Watson versus Russell Wilson, not Garrett Wilson versus Christian Watson. And if we are going to be looking at the two quarterbacks, it's close, if I'm going to be honest with you. I do think it's up to you. I probably go Deshaun Watson just because I think Deshaun Watson has a little bit of a higher ceiling. But I don't know. I mean, I think that both of them are just kind of streaming options that you're playing from a week-to-week perspective based off matchups. Now, Taco coming out saying, full BBR, Hurts, CMC, Brees, Olave, Deontay, Taysom, Nico, Goddard, Godwin, Warren, Jason, Charbonnet. Should we trade Deontay and Jalen Warren for Devonta Smith? RB depth completely gone. Well, we do have CMC and Brees Hall through their respective buys. So, I mean, if you were to send off Warren, obviously, we are taking a hit with our running back depth, but our running back depth's not super important at this time of the year. If you think you can backfill someone that you like off the waiver wire, yes, I would go get Devonta Smith. I think Smith will be pretty appealing now that you have the Dallas Goedert injury. Now, Saul says, hey, Mason, 10-team at BBR, 5-5 right now. Receivers are Jefferson, Waddle, Olave, Ridley, Watson, Downs. Running backs are Jacob, Swift, Montgomery, James Cook. Any moves? If I'm looking at this team, having James Cook as RB4, I mean, I just don't think we're really ever going to need him here, especially if they decide to use Leonard Fournette down the road. So if I could take, say, James Cook and send him with one of these wide receivers, such as Calvin Ridley, such as Jalen Waddle, such as Chris Olave, and go get an upgrade at that position, I think it'd make a lot of sense. Obviously, we can't see who we have a quarterback tied in here. Maybe we can use James Cook as a little bit of trade bait to try to upgrade one of those positions. Adam says, Diggs, Achane, Kamara, Laporta for Eckler and CeeDee Lamb. Yes or no in a full PPR format? So Diggs to Eckler, or let's go Diggs to Lamb. Probably give me Lamb at this point. Achane to Eckler, give me Eckler. We're paying Kamara and Laporta to get it done. To be honest with you, I probably prefer the Diggs, Achane, Kamara, and Laporta side. I understand that we've been trying to trade for Eckler for a while here, my man. I just think that I hate to tell it to you because, I mean, obviously this isn't what you want to hear. But, I mean, at this point, if this is like the amount of value they're trying to extract from you, I think you may be better off not dealing with this team, to be completely honest. So that's my thought. Now, Ben says, should I trade Walker and Debo for Travis Etienne? It's a PBR format. Debo's our flex and our bench wide receiver depending on the matchup. I would say yes, based off the long-term matchups that you're going to get in Seattle for Kenneth Walker. I mean, this week, Kenneth Walker is going to be fine. I mean, if you look at the underdog pick'ems for these guys this week, I know you have a Walker one out already. They have Walker at 65.5 rushing yards. I don't know if you have a Travis Etienne one out yet. Probably not. I mean, Etienne will be higher than 65.5 rushing yards. But the thing is, beyond this week, Walker will have much tougher matchups than against the Rams. So I think we probably go ahead and make that move, my friend. Find our next question. And as I do that, let me remind you, if you have not done so already, ladies and gentlemen, please go down there. Hit that like button. I mean, today is day 201 of live streaming every single day in a row. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and the Joe Burrow special pick'em more than less than half the total yard. But Dude Jazzy Jeff says 10-team at BVR 8-2. Hurts, Stroud, Keenan, Puka, Debo, Addison, CMC, Jacobs, Achane, Javonte, Kincaid, Goddard. Would you trade for Devonta Smith? Thanks and hook him. Hook him, my friend. I would if you can. I mean, obviously it comes down to the price point. I'll say Devonta Smith, someone I'd rather have over Debo, Addison. I'm not adding a considerable amount to those guys to pivot over, though. What I would probably rather do is see if we can send CJ Stroud and Debo Samuel, or CJ Stroud and Jordan Addison, and go get a better wide receiver than Devonta Smith. But I think that would be about the deal we are looking at. Sebastian says Walker or Rashad White rest of season. Full PPR format, honestly, I'm not going to fault you if you want to go ahead and take Rachaad White there. Non-PPR league, I'll definitely go Kenneth Walker. I mean, they're just two completely different style backs at this point, where you are looking at Rachaad White really getting there each and every week with the floor of 4 to 5 targets out of this backfield. If you go over and look at the community rankings on flogfantasy.com right now, you'll see that Kenneth Walker is at 15, Rachaad White is at 18. But, I mean, they are pretty close. Now, E. Morales says, have BBR made 2 trades, 6 and 4. Herbert, Kupp, Olave, Taylor, Jacobs, Kincaid, Bijan, Achane, Nico, DK, Quentin Johnson, Lenny, Tajee, Waller. Number 1 waiver wire, who to go get? Phenomenal team. I mean, I would just say you have so much wide receiver depth here. I would love if we could sell like DK Metcalf and Kupp, DK Metcalf and Olave, and just go get a borderline top 5 wide receiver in fantasy. Go get Stefon Diggs, you know? And then in terms of making a waiver wire move, if you have the number 1 waiver claim, I would actually probably save it this week. I mean, if you were going to use it and go ahead and drop someone, I think you could safely drop Darren Waller. Thing is with Waller, why would he ever come back? You know, I think I'd probably drop Darren Waller before anybody else there, or Leonard Fournette, depending on if Fournette's going to play this week. I mean, I thought he was going to play last week. Salvador says 7th place in a 12-team full BBR double flex format. We have Hurts, Jacobs, Montgomery, Chase, Myers, Ridley, JSN, Judy, London, Watson, Komet. Any trade ideas to make the push for the playoffs? Thanks a lot. Appreciate you, my friend. Full PPR format, I wouldn't mind if you wanted to see what we could get for David Montgomery. Or if you wanted to see if we could package together, say like David Montgomery, Drake London, David Montgomery, Calvin Ridley, David Montgomery, Jacoby. One of those guys and just pivot over to a running back that we like in that range that's going to catch the ball. I think that would be appealing. Like if you look at the community rankings right now, I mean, you have David Montgomery currently in at RB12. You have Breece Hall in at RB9. In a full BBR format, if we can go get that upgrade while adding a smaller piece in there, I would look to do that. OCT says, we're trading Laporta for Kyler. We have the Lawrence issue. I honestly would probably say no. Boom Sam says, last week you said Ridley and Kelsey for Dell, HN Kittle was a bad trade. How you liking it now? I'm 9-1 and ready for the playoffs. Obviously, Dell looks great. I will say with George Kittle, I still view Kittle as a significant downgrade in comparison to Travis Kelce. Full transparency, I drafted so much more George Kittle than Travis Kelce this year. Like, I would be printing money if Kittle continues to outproduce Kelce. But I'm realistic here. Don't think it's going to happen. And that if you do look at what you have with George Kittle, well, he got there this week. It was with the long receiving touchdown. He had like 3 or 4 targets. Like Deebo Samuel coming in here is still going to significantly eat into his target volume. Xavier says 12-team at BBR. Start Hurts, Pollard, Ford, A. Brown, Boyd, Warren, Gabe, Ingram. And then on the bench, JT on bye, Olave on bye, Downs on bye, London on bye, McBride, Dobbs. Should we trade Jalen Hurts or Joshua Dobbs? I mean, if you could trade Joshua Dobbs and maybe go out there and send him, I don't know, with Gabe Davis and go get a player that we're a little more excited about for the flex, let's do it. Whenever we have Jalen Hurts and Jalen Hurts is through his bye week already. Now, obviously, the issue is, like, are you actually going to be able to get something? So, I don't know. I would like to hold on to Hurts and sell Dobbs. I just don't know realistically what the price point would be like. Alexis says trade Lamar, Devonta Smith for Burrow and Higgins. 6-point passing touchdown format. Probably 4-point passing touchdown league. I don't know if I love trading for an injured T. Higgins right now. Micah says 10-team BBR, single flex, 8-2. We have Allen, Walker, Brian Robinson, Diggs, Jefferson, Andrews, Godwin, Deontay, Cook, Kincaid, Rice, Charbonnet. Thoughts and moves. Package for a better RB2 and or flex. I would love to do that. And also, I think we can afford it relatively easily because we are sitting here with 2 top 5 tight ends in Dalton Kincaid as well as Mark Andrews. So if I could go through and maybe sell, say, Dalton Kincaid and Brian Robinson and get an elite level running back, or even Dalton Kincaid and Kenneth Walker if you can get a little more for Walker, I think that would make sense as well. SSG Yeti, always happy to see ya, says, in Gibbs we trust 8-2 12-team PPR, where we have Etienne, Hall, Hill, Chase, Laporta, Wilson, Gibbs. And then on the bench, Lawrence, Amari, Ferguson, Godwin, Singletary. Traded for Chase and Hall. Well, you are sitting pretty right now, my man. Thank you so much for rocking with us all season. What can we do here? I mean, down there on the bench, I guess if we have Amari and Godwin, these are depth wide receivers that we can hang as some trade bait. Maybe if you wanted to see if we could sell them and Breece Hall and see if we can pivot to, like, if you can go Breece Hall and Godwin, Breece Hall and Amari and go get Eckler, I think we would do that in a full BBR format. But really the only thing we can't do, you're in a great spot. Now, Tani says, was 1-6, now 4-6. Working our way back, my man. 2 quarterback, 6-point passing touchdown league. Now we're getting Kyler back in as well. We have Kyler Stroud, Swift, Walker, Kirk, Nico, Hogginson, Myers, Edwards, Deshaun, Foreman, Jefferson on the IR. Any advice to keep me moving? Thank you, brother. My man, we were 1-6 and we did not trade Jefferson and still somehow won 3 games straight. I feel like maybe we got a little lucky here, to be completely honest with you. Maybe we should have sold Jefferson once we fell to that big hole and he got injured. But now you're going to get Jefferson back in. If it is a full BBR format, I wouldn't mind seeing him go out there and upgrade over Gus Edwards. Like if you wanted to send Gus Edwards and Nico Collins, Gus Edwards and Christian Kirk, and either go get a running back or a wide receiver upgrade, I think we could afford to do that now that we're getting Jefferson back in. And Gus Edwards just not going to catch the ball. Crab Vision says, hey, Mason, need your help. PBR, pick one. Rice, Ridley, Watson. Ooh, I'm going to go Rashee Rice. Laporta, McBride, we're going to go Laporta. And then flex Javonte or Connor, as always. Thanks for the help. Thank you, my friend. I believe we have Connor going up against the Texans this week. Javonte going up against Minnesota. We'll probably go Javonte based off what we just saw this past Monday, right? Looks like it's a very safe workload. James says 12-team full BBR. Trade for Fields or Goff. I'm going to be going for Fields. Offer Mixon or a different running back. We have Geno, Carr, Saquon, Montgomery, Mixon, Javonte, Warren. Between these quarterbacks, I'd be trying to trade for Justin Fields. However, I will say at the same time, if you're going to go through and sell someone like Saquon, sell someone like Mixon, you need more in return, my friend. Like, you're not going through and selling Mixon, a running back that's a 3-down back in a great offense. So I like the idea of selling one of these running backs and going and getting help at quarterback. But I would first start off with the big 4. I mean, I'd see if we can go get someone like Burrow. See if we can go get someone like Josh Allen. Now, Stefon says 6-4, 12-team PBR. Got offered Olave, Walker for Diggs. Start Dobbs, Montgomery, Ford, Amon-Ra, Diggs, Sutton, McBride. And then on the bench, Tua, Ramondre, London, Higgins, Dotson. Also, Tua or Dobbs? We're going to go Tua over Dobbs. I would rather have Diggs over Olave and Walker. We're 6-4, so we can afford to think a little more long-term here. We do have the depth as is at the same time where we're not too concerned. I mean, you do have Ramondre down there on the bench. We have Higgins down there on the bench as well. So I know maybe it's going to be a little bit of a frustrating spot, of course, while we have the Stefon Diggs bye week coming up. I still think you go with Diggs, though. Safir says PBR, Pollard or Walker rest of season. And then Diggs or St. Brown rest of season. We'll go Diggs, especially as he's already through his bye. And if you're looking at Walker versus Pollard, there it's going to be a little bit tougher. I know most people are going to go Kenneth Walker. If you look at the schedules of the running backs going forward, I'm probably going to take Tony Pollard. Nick says, which pair do you prefer rest of season? Jefferson, Kamara, or Amon-Ra, Bijan? Give me St. Brown over Jefferson, full BBR, Kamara versus Bijan. Kind of close, going to be up to, Bijan has the number one playoff schedule of any running back in fantasy. That's why it's kind of hard for me to get off of him. I am about as biased as they come. But you're going to get the extra week from the Amon-Ra side. I think I personally go with St. Brown and Bijan. But like I said, I am as biased as they come, even if we did draft more Kamara than Bijan this year. But I'm rooting for Bijan a little bit harder. Now, Drew says 5-5, 10-team BBR. Lost 5 straight. We have Stroud, Pollard, Swift, Jefferson, Moore, Olave, Kincaid, Javonte, Ingram, Madison, Davis, Noah Brown, Kyler, Khalil. Any moves? Wide receiver depth is shake. You're going to get Jefferson back in, right? You get Jefferson back in. Wide receiver looks so much better. We have Javonte now that we can go through and throw in one of the flex spots. Really, the only thing that I'd say is if you wanted to make a move, maybe you could see what you could get for Dalton Kincaid. Like if you could package Kincaid and Olave and go get a top 5 wide receiver, right? Just because we have Evan Ingram already through his bye. Evan Ingram's like the 3rd or 4th tight end in the NFL in targets right now. I'd definitely rather have Kincaid over Ingram. I just think that Ingram's already through his bye and you're going to get significantly more value if you did decide to trade away Kincaid instead. Trevor says, Dodd Farther, please help. 4-6, 12-team at BBR in 7th place. Herbert, Allen, Chase, Flowers, Sutton, Judy, Watson, JT, Jacobs, Ramondre, Charbonnet, Spears, Ferguson. Playing the number 1 guy and need a win. Any moves? Thanks, G. Appreciate you, my friend. Brutal spot to be in. Love the team long term, but we have Jonathan Taylor on bye this week. So, if we're looking to submit a starting lineup this week, you're going Jamar Chase, Keenan Allen, a wide receiver. Jacobs, is Ramondre on bye as well? Yeah, I think Ramondre is on bye as well. Let me just double check to make sure I'm not losing my mind. Yeah, he is. Very rarely will you ever hear me say, okay, we need to make a trade due to a bye week. That's something I typically never do. And we always advise people against it early in the season. But this is one of those very rare instances where we're in a must-win game. We're 4-6. We don't want to end up having to start Tajee Spears at running back. So if you wanted to go ahead and if you wanted to see if you could maybe send Jonathan Taylor and just pivot over to another top 5 RB, like send Jonathan Taylor and save Flowers and see if we can go get someone already through their bye, like Austin Eckler, like Travis Etienne, I think that would be a possible move you could do, or you could go to the waiver wire and just pick up Ty Chandler for the bye week fill. Go Bill says, PBR, we need 2-2 and a flex. Saquon, Etienne, Walker, Lamb, Hollywood, Hopkins, and Godwin. Let's start it off with the easy guys. We're going to go with Lamb, wide receiver 1, Travis Etienne, RB 1. Then between Saquon, Kenneth Walker, actually not the easiest thing here with how bad this offense is in New York. I hate to say it. I would probably rather have Kenneth Walker. If you look at the underdog pick'em, you have Kenneth Walker at 65.5 rushing yards this week. Let me see if they have one out there right now for Saquon Barkley. They have Barkley at 66.5. I just think that there's maybe more touchdown upside with the Seahawks than there will be in New York. So I'd probably go Saquon and Walker. Lamb, and also in that wide receiver spot, Hollywood. Godwin, horrible matchup against San Fran. And then I guess we go ahead and we put Saquon in that flex spot anyway, right? So we probably start all 3 RBs. Okay. Now, Jake says, traded Pollard, Kirk, London for Jonathan Taylor, Nico Collins. The team's now Herbert, Eckler, JT, Diggs, Kupp, Kincaid, Nico, Higgins, and Pacheco. Thank you for the great content. Appreciate you, my friend. And yeah, this is a nutso trade. I have no idea how the hell you get this. Give me Collins over London. Obviously, you want the JT side here as well. Beautiful trade. I have no idea how you pulled that off. Now, Cheech Chong, always happy to see us. Says, who would you rather have rest of season at PBR? Jacobs or Walker? We're going to go Jacobs based off the Walker schedule. Kupp or Keenan? We're going to go Keenan. And Kittle or Kincaid? We're going to go Kincaid. Team is JT, HN, Kyron, Diggs, Puka. Yeah. So good team, but yeah, go Keenan, Kincaid, and Jacobs. Cheap Herb says, would a trade for Chase for Jefferson and Garrett Wilson, or maybe Jefferson and Godwin? Good trade, or am I better off with Chase? If it's like a 3 wide receiver double flex format, I understand it. I would go for Jefferson, Garrett Wilson. I'm not going to do the Godwin one. However, if it's just a 2 wide receiver single flex league where the depth's not going to matter as much, definitely prefer Jamar Chase. And that you also have to remember, Chase is not only in an offense with an injured Higgins, but also he's through his bye as well. Take him, says HN and Javonte for Jonathan Taylor. We have Bijan, all Kyron. Oh, if we already have all the depth, give me the best player. Give me JT. Joey says, would you trade McBride and Jaleel for Ridley and Musgrave? Give me McBride over Ridley at this point. Jaleel, Musgrave are both like waiver wire options. We have Kittle already. Wideouts are Dell, Michael Wilson, Thomas, Palmer. I probably would look for more value with Trey McBride. Obviously, I'm an idiot, but I mean, I just have no faith in Calvin Ridley at all. Like, not only is he's not producing, he's not seeing any volume in this offense either. There's a reason he's not producing. Plutus says 12-team PBR 5-5. Traded Gibbs and Adams for A.J. Brown. The lineups Jefferson, Amon-Ra, A.J. Brown, Pollard, Ford, Kyler, Andrews. Did we overpay? I'm ranking Gibbs as a mid RB1 rest of season. So I personally think you probably overpaid. Now, if you are going to overpay, it's going to be for someone like A.J. Brown, right? Especially when A.J. Brown is already through his bye, so I think you probably overpaid a bit, but I think you probably afford to go out there and have this overpay. Now, Handy Manny says 5-5, 10-team at BBR. Traded Andrews and Jacobs for Kittle, HN, Kyron. So Jacobs to HN, probably give me HN. Andrews to Kittle, give me Andrews. Picking up Kyron for free. I think it's a fair deal. I think it's up to you. The team's now Burrow, JT, HN, Chase, Olave, Kittle, Garrett, Kyron. What are your thoughts? I mean, it's understandable, right? If you think that Kyron Williams comes back in and Kyron Williams has the same role that he did previously, I think you can be pretty excited about it. The main question is, like, what does the Kyron Williams role look like when he comes back in? Now, Juan says 12-team PBR, where we have Burrow, Pollard, Pacheco, Diggs, Pittman, Goddard, Hollywood, JSN, Najee, Sanders, Higgins, Auden, Algier. Really want to make a move. Should we go for Amon-Ra? I mean, I would love to if we can, my friend. The question is, like, what does that trade look like? Is essentially, you're going to have to take one of those guys down on your bench that has value, send him with the starter like Michael Pittman, and go get that upgrade. JSN, you're not going to get anything. You're not getting anything with Najee. You're not getting anything with Sanders. T. Higgins is really the only guy down here that's quote-unquote expendable where he has some type of trade value. I don't think you're going to you're not going to be able to sell T. Higgins and Michael Pittman to go get Amon-Ra St. Brown. So the deal would look like T. Higgins and Diggs to do it. I don't necessarily know if we want to do that. So to be honest with you, while I would love to make a move, I think you're probably sitting on your hands. And I think you just have to go ahead and you have to wait till we get Higgins back. Jay says, did you make it to the Dog Bowl in Miami? We've been getting in those Dog Bowl drafts on the live stream over the past few weeks? Sadly, no. I thought for half a second that we were going to have a decent sweat last week. So yeah, I think this was my second week in a row of drafting dog bowl teams. Really like the promotion they're doing on Underdog, where if you're inside the top 2,000, you're getting $25 back. So I've hit it hard over the past 2 weeks. I think we've drafted like a total of 50 teams-ish. Not each week, but I think total between the two. And sadly, we have not gotten there. I think we are going to draft a considerable amount of teams this week as well, though, my man. Last week, I will say, my guy that we were drafting in the last round over and over again was Devin Singletary. So we hit on that last round pick that gave us a shot to win. We just weren't able to actually do it. But Sean says, Dynasty, full BBR, I'm 6-4. We have Kenneth Walker, JT, and James Conner for running back. Do I trade Walker with a tough playoff schedule and potentially losing his role going into next season? So the thing is with Kenneth Walker, he's a running back that's still on his rookie deal, right? So with him still being on his rookie deal, is one of the very few running backs that you have any type of certainty from in Dynasty. It really does come down to the price point that you're going to get, because Kenneth Walker does have a role. I mean, you will start him on this team that is a contender. It's not like his value is going to completely fall off a cliff. I would say if you're a rebuilding roster, then yeah, of course, we're going to look to go ahead and sell him in Dynasty. If you're a rebuilding team, you sell any running back in Dynasty. But here we're 6-4. I don't necessarily know if we want to. DM says 10-team at BBR double flex. We have Hurts, CMC, Eckler, HN, Pittman, Dell, Hogginson. Stroud, Charbonnet, Spears, Keaton, JSN, Deontay, Christian Watson on the bench. Should we trade Jalen Hurts for a stud wide receiver? If you're going to get a top 5-ish wide receiver, like if you're going to get someone back like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Stefon Diggs, then yes, we're going to go ahead and do this. Now that we have CJ Stroud fully breaking out, CJ Stroud looking like a startable player every single week, and he's already through his bye. Plus, it's a double flex format, so obviously adding in that extra wide receiver does make the difference. Matt says, Dynasty 16-team at BBR. Starters are Allen, CMC, Eckler. Oh, nasty team in a 16-team format. Thin bench, should we sell Charbonnet, Pitts, and Pickens for Kelsey? If it was like a 10-team Dynasty league, I'd say hell yes. My issue is 16-team format. The long-term depth is actually going to matter a lot more here. Oh, so you're saying in picks, not Pickens. I would sell Charbonnet and Kyle Pitts for Travis Kelsey if we are looking to contend and win right now in Dynasty. I'm not going to go out there and add a ton of picks to get it done, though, my man. But, I mean, you are a strong team. It looks like you can really contend. John says 14-team, half PPR. Purdy, Jefferson, Moore, Etienne, JT, Andrews, Achane. Should we stay put or upgrade? We have Godwin, McBride, Singletary, and Boyd on the bench to work with. So, I mean, obviously, if we're looking at Singletary, maybe short shelf life. Boyd, short shelf life. When we get Higgins and Pierce back in, I don't know if either of these guys are startable. So I'd say no, not with this being a 14-team format. With this being a 14-team league, I would actually probably rather sit still. I think you're better off just honestly sitting on your hands here. Now, King Wrecker says, Allen, Taylor, Swift, London, Kirk, Laporta, Ford, White, Chase, Hall, Algier, Atwell, Dobbs, Otten, Mitchell. It's a 12-team BBR double flex. Any suggestions? We are 5-5. So we have the elite level quarterback. We have running backs coming on strongly. We have the great tight ends. We have quality depth. I don't have a ton for you. I mean, if we have Taylor Swift, Hall, and Rachaad White, maybe you say that Rachaad White is expendable and you could go through and see if you wanted to sell Rachaad White and a receiver like Drake London to go get a stud wide receiver that you feel comfortable starting every single week. I mean, it would be interesting if we could go out there and make a move like that. Just because, I mean, if you are looking at Rachaad White, this is a running back that's been great. He's scored back-to-back weeks. But in reality, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, it probably is difficult to project him to continue to have this type of touchdown upside from week-to-week perspective with this offense in the long term. Now, Mike says 7-3, 12-team, happy BR, second place. We have Mahomes, Kyler, Chase, Olave, Pacheco, Montgomery, Hockenson, Madison, Kyron, Dell, Dobbs, Douglas. Trade to last place, Kyler, Pacheco, Dell for Kamara, Zay Flowers. So going from Pacheco to Kamara, pretty big upgrade. Dell to Flowers, downgrade. We're paying Kyler to get it done. Not sure of Kamara's value over Pacheco. Should we counter Dobbs instead of Dell? I think that'd make it a lot closer, and I'd be significantly more likely to make the deal if we could instead go through and keep Tank Dell here. As I mean, Tank Dell just looks so damn good. If it was a full BBR format, I would say, yeah, I'm fine with us going through. And if we're 7-3, let's just go ahead and let's just overpay for Alvin Kamara, right? Let's bring in Kamara, someone that's getting 5-ish targets per game minimum every single week, sometimes closer to 10. My issue with this is it's a happy BR format. So the usage that Kamara has as a receiver simply doesn't move the needle as much, you know? So probably not super excited to go through and make a move like that, my friend. Now, Cranabo says, hey, Shoddy, we have to win out 3-7, but still alive, full BBR. We have Lamar, Howell, Henry, JT, Warren, Pacheco, Keaton, Wilson, Godwin, London, Judy, Dell, Downs, Andrews, Laporta. Help a player out. It's a 1 QB, 2 running back, 2 receiver, 1 tight end, double flex. Wishing you the best of luck here, my friend. Obviously, being 3-7, you are very much a long shot to do anything. Now, with that being said, if you can somehow go out there and make a trade where we're selling Mark Andrews or Dalton Kincaid and getting back an elite receiver, or honestly running back in a double flex format, you could go either direction. I think that would probably be the play that we are looking to make. My only hesitation is, okay, this team needs to win out. We are sitting in a spot where neither of those tight ends are already through their buys. So you are going to have to go through and you are going to have to end up adding in a tight end off waivers for like the Buffalo buy, right? If we sell Mark Andrews. Well, both these tight ends are top 5 tight ends in fantasy. You're still not super excited to go through and jam them in under the circumstance that you're going to have to put them in the flex. They're going to be going up against opposing wide receivers. And that's not something that we are too excited about. The one thing that we probably, I mean, you could bring it up, I probably don't do it, is maybe it's interesting just pivoting off of someone that's still on their buy like Jonathan Taylor and seeing if you could sell like Taylor and Josh Downs and just going and getting Travis Etienne, going and getting Austin Eckler, going and getting someone that's already through their buy. Will says 12-team full BBR. Should we trade Devonta, Kittle, Javonte, and Baker for Kupp, Hockenson, Madison, and Heineke? We already have Mahomes, so the quarterback doesn't matter at all. Devonta to Kupp, upgrade. Kittle, Hockenson, upgrade. Javonte to Madison, downgrade. Quarterback doesn't matter. I'd probably go get Kupp, Hockenson, and Madison. I mean, Hockenson's the #1 tight end in fantasy currently. Now, Steven says 12-team BBR single flex, 6-4, second place. We have Hurts, Etienne, Walker, HN, Chuba, Spears, Chase, Waddle, Douglas, Jonnu Chig. Need help at tight end? Who would you look to trade for? I think it'd make a lot of sense for this team to go out there and trade for a tight end if it's affordable. The issue is, like, we already are loaded up with studs and duds. Like, if you are going to go through and sell one of these guys, maybe you sell Achane with him coming back in. And if you're doing that, you need Hockenson, you need Andrews, you need Laporta, you need someone like that in return. If you're going with Laporta, you probably need a little more juice on top as well. I mean, I think that in general, Evan Ingram is a very interesting buy low candidate at tight ends. My issue is I just don't necessarily know if we have a player on this team that we can sell for Evan Ingram that make a lot of sense. Lager Niner says, I know kickers suck, but we have both the Philly and Detroit kickers because of the bye weeks. Who do we drop for waivers tonight? I appreciate you being such a long time member of the flock, my friend. I wish I had a great answer for you. The God's honest truth is I have not played in a fantasy football league with kickers since maybe 2017. I play in hundreds of fantasy football leagues every single season. And I don't know the last time we had a kicker on there was. So, I mean, I personally would probably just say, well, drop whoever you want. Can I ask the live chat here? Can everybody in the chat please let me know, who are you going to be dropping between the Eagles and the Detroit kicker? Because the people in the chat responding, I promise you, have a much better idea of what to do than I do. Now, Max says, 12-team happy BR. We have Lamar, Olave, Moore, Jacobs, Pacheco, Ferguson, Javonte, Flowers, Keaton Mitchell, Purdy, Spears. Any recommendations? Not necessarily. I think it's a very well-balanced team. I don't necessarily think that we have, enough value where we can say, oh, yeah, easily just go out there and make, honestly, no. I think you are just kind of sitting on your hands here, my friend. I don't think anything stands out. Now, Bobby has our next question. Are we going to have to pull this over to the other screen? I believe we are. So just give me 1 second. And as I do this, ladies and gentlemen, please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. Today is day 201 of live streaming every single day in a row. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog, some of my favorite pick'ems right now are going to be CJ Stroud for more than 249.5 passing yards and Tank Dell for more than 49.5 receiving yards. You can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and a Joe Burrow special pick'em, more than less than half a total yards. So make sure you take advantage. But our next question coming out from Bobby. And we are going to have to shrink this down, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. It's a 12-team BBR two-keeper league. We traded Rachaad White, an 8th-round keeper, Zay Flowers, a 9th-round keeper, and a 6th for CMC. We have Kamara for a 5th. So if it's a 2-player keeper, my friend, it's a redraft league. Like, don't be thinking about keeper cost. If it's a 2-player keeper, you will always have 2 guys that you're wanting to keep. We traded away Rachaad White, Zay Flowers, and a 6th for CMC. Beautiful deal. Obviously, if it's an 8-player keeper, 10-player keeper, we have to begin treating it a little bit more like those keeper prices actually matter. Here they don't. Billy Welch says, full BBR, need a single flex. Lamb, Ayuk, Metcalf, Nico, Hall, Javonte, Pollard. Can also trade Javonte and Ayuk for JT and Judy. Hell yes, go get Jonathan Taylor. So make that trade for Jonathan Taylor, and then afterwards, wide receiver, we're going to be starting Lamb, DK Metcalf, and running back, we're going to be starting Breece Hall and Tony Pollard. Throw in Nico Collins for the flex, and then obviously we'll get JT back next week. Now, Clutchbox says, yo, Mason, we just traded Bijan for Goff and Superflex. My quarterbacks before were Herbert, Pickett, Carr. My running backs were Cook, Eckler, Achane. Was it a decent return? And I would have liked to get a little bit more. Obviously, I'm a Bijan Robinson homer, but I don't know. It makes sense if you have that much running back depth to go through and make a deal like that. I would have just rather had a little more. Colin says 12-team BBR, 6-4, fourth place. Herbert, Kyler, Jacobs, Swift, Montgomery, Hubbard, Keenan, Ayuk, Moore, Kirk, Kelsey, Laporta. Just traded Herbert, Ayuk, Laporta for Goff and Chase. Beautiful trade. We have Kyler. You can't afford to trade away Herbert. And obviously, if we have Kelsey, Laporta's not doing much for us. Go get Chase is a no-brainer. Ramsey says 2 running backs full BBR. Got Montgomery, Etienne, Singletary. Who's starting? Montgomery and Etienne, not thinking twice. In says 7-3, 20-team BBR. Make a move with Puka, Waddle, DK, Deontay for a running back 2 to pair with Eckler, or just wait out on Chuba Fournette. Was thinking about offering Deontay for Connor. Any other one for one ideas? Thanks. I do actually like that, my friend. Now I think that you're in a much better spot to go through and sell one of the wide receiver depth pieces for a running back upgrade at RB2. I know we've been talking about this all season, but if we look at this, Puka's already through his bye week now. Waddle's through his bye week now. DK's through his bye week now. Deontay's through his bye week now. So we do now have the wide receiver depth where I think it would make a lot of sense, yeah, for you to pivot over from like Deontay and go get a player like James Conner. Another thing that you could possibly look to do is if you wanted to see if you could sell like, say, DK Metcalf and pivot over to Kyren Williams. That could be something you wanted. I mean, you could want. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. Obviously, you can go to flockfantasy.com and just look at the free community rankings. That should give you a good idea how to value those guys. Salvador says, should I package Montgomery with Hurts and try to get Breece, Goff, Pittman, or look for another move with that package? Thanks, man. Thank you, my friend. So Montgomery with Hurts. Montgomery to Breece is an upgrade. Hurts to Goff is a massive downgrade. We're getting Pittman to do it. I would say no. I think that you probably need a little more juice. Colin says 12-team BBR double flex. We have Allen, Bijan, Pollard, Brian Robinson, Evans, Kirk, Dell, Downs, Palmer, JSN, Judy, McBride. Any moves to make? Double flex league, the depth's going to matter a little bit more. We don't have a ton of it. So honestly, no. The only thing is, let's just continue to churn the waiver wire and really hope that we have another rookie hitting like JSN. Now, Mike says 6-4, 12-team full BBR. Traded my Kyler, Montgomery, Pittman for Jefferson and White. Full BBR, really like it. Tried to get Mixon, but had to settle. Now we have Allen, Tyree, Jefferson, JT, White, oh, nasty. Beautiful, beautiful team. You're just kind of chilling. I mean, if Joshua Palmer's not on your IR, if he's actually on your roster, I'd say we'd probably go ahead and cut him. But yeah, love that team. Devin says, what's your opinion, Jacobs or White's? I'm sorry, Jacobs or Swift rest of season? I probably prefer Jacobs just given the guaranteed rushing volume. It is close in a full BBR format, though. Hopefully Jacobs starts catching the ball more. Daniel says trade Smith, Dell, Hubbard for Waddle and Garrett Wilson. Smith to Waddle upgrade. Dell and Hubbard to Garrett Wilson upgrade. Yeah, I would do it. 24 Broncos says started 1-4, now 5-5. We have Tua, Watson, Levis, Gibbs, Jacobs, Javonte, Keaton Mitchell, Charbonnet, Cup, Waddle, Wilson, Amari, Nico, Watson, JSN, McBride on the IR, Goddard, Achane. So we're going to be bringing Achane back off the IR. We have so much depth here. I would say this is a team that can probably afford, if you wanted to see if we can sell like Amari and Tua or Javonte and Tua and see if we can pivot over to like a top 4 quarterback. I think as we get back Devon Achane, it's a trade that we can afford. DJ says, I traded Stroud, Pickens, Goddard for Laporta and Devontae Adams. Great move. Especially if we have Lamar. Also, Adams, Pollard, or White rest of season. If I had to pick one guy to this list, probably Adams. Eric says 10-team, single flex, 6-4. Mahomes, JT, Cook, Walker, Robinson, Hill, AJ Brown, Laporta, Connor, Ridley, Downs. Should I trade Brian Robinson and Kenneth Walker for Justin Jefferson? Full BBR format, I think you can go ahead and do it now that we have Connor back in, if you can find some running back depth down there on the waiver wire. Now, Isaiah says 7-3, 10-team Superflex. Starters are Tua, Hurts, JT, Etienne, Lamb, Cup, Waddle, Kincaid, and then on the bench, Kyler, White, H, and Dell. Are we set for the playoffs? Maybe Kyler and Cup for Tyreek. Thank you, Mace. Thank you, my friend. I would say yes, if we can make a move like this, it makes sense. Obviously, in a one quarterback format, you would never be able to, but in a super flex league, it's definitely a possibility. But I would be willing to do this with the amount of depth that this team has. And we already have Tua and Jalen Hurts through their respective buys. So phenomenal team. I think we can go ahead and do that, especially on a 10-teamer. Jay Soyce says, what's up, Mason? 18 BBR, single flex, 3 and 7. We have Allen, Kyler, Eckler, JT, Brees, Jones, Hill, Chase, Dell, Godwin, Terry, Komet, and Joku. Who to flex this week, and how can we improve? We're going to start Allen at quarterback. Running back, we're going to go Eckler, Brees. Wide receiver, we're going to go Hill, Chase. For the flex, I guess, maybe Dell in a full BBR format. Tight end, Komet. I would love to sell one of these wide receiver depth pieces like Terry and Komet or Godwin and Komet to see if we can go pivot to a tight end that we like a little more in the, not even in the long term, in the short term as well. Just given the fact that team should be focused in on short-term production. Now, Jindy says 12-team BBR Superflex Dynasty. We have Herbert, Lawrence, Fields, Richardson, Achane, Chandler, Keaton, Dotson, Jameson, Elijah, Reed, Dart throws. So essentially, we are full-blown punting, building around our quarterbacks. We have the 101 and 2 mid-first, any moves to make. I hate to say this. I mean, I've been saying this for over a year now, and people get very emotional when we say it. But by no means does Justin Fields have a guaranteed starting job next year. You earned the number 1 overall pick last year. This year, they're right back there. Obviously, with it being the Panthers pick, but still, I mean, their own pick's going to be top 5 as well. So I personally would say that if you could get out of Justin Fields, I would on a rebuilding team. I'm trying to think here. If you can pivot off of Justin Fields and go get like Bryce Young, someone that we know will be a starting quarterback next year, and pick up a little bit of juice on top of it, I think that would be interesting. Nick says 12-team at BBR, Stroud, Bijan, Gibbs, St. Brown, Cup, McBride, Achane. And then on the bench, Kirk, Flowers, Jason, Dobbs, Roshan. Any changes? I'm 6-4, tied for the division. No, I think we keep this as is. It's a team that doesn't have a ton of depth. But yeah, I think all 3 running backs are going to be must-start guys. I mean, you're starting Achane over Bijan this week. Obviously, with Bijan on bye, and you're going to have to go through and slide Christian Kirk into the flex. MT says 6-4, full BBR. We have Dobbs, St. Brown, Tank, Connor, Spears, Hogginson, Debo. And then on the bench, Lamar, Trey, Bijan, Rice, JSN, Kyler. What moves should we look to make? We can't roster 3 quarterbacks, so you have to sell one of these guys. You have to send Dobbs and Dell, Kyler and Connor, or Lamar and Spears, and go get an upgrade elsewhere, my friend. I mean, obviously, all these quarterbacks are great in their own right. It's just very tough to be rostering 3 QBs, regardless of who it is, assuming it's a 1 quarterback format. Now, Stepsis says 18 BBR triple flex. Any moves we should have? Stroud, White, Taylor, Ridley, Laporta, Walker, Terry, Ford, Warren, Cup, Flowers, Schultz, Brian, Robinson. Traded Diggs for Jefferson and Adams. Typically, I'd say 8-team league. I hate it. Give me the best guy. Triple flex, I'm fine with it. And yeah, honestly, after that, I think you are chilling. I mean, if you do decide to send Diggs for Jefferson and Adams, then at that point, I think the wide receiver depth, you could afford to go out there and send, say, Terry McLaurin or maybe Kenneth Walker. You're going to get a better price point. In an 8-team league, if I could send like Kenneth Walker and Stroud and get to a top 3 quarterback like Allen, I think I'd probably do it just because the depth doesn't matter as much. Ryan says, Mason, need your advice. This week is the trade deadline. We have Montgomery, Saquon, Jacobs. Trade offer, Jacobs for Devonta Smith and Kyren Williams. We already have Pittman and Olave as our wide receiver. I would probably rather have Jacobs. My only hesitation is that Jacobs has been catching the ball a little bit less. I would love to know what y'all think in the live chat, but I am a little bit paranoid. I'm a little bit concerned that maybe Kyren Williams comes back into this offense and Kyren Williams doesn't have the role he did previously. There is an outside chance that is the case, right? So, I don't know. If I can pivot over to someone like Jacobs where I know what the workload is, I probably will. But Nick coming out with a massive dono. Thank you so much. Says, appreciate all the trade advice this season, bro. Just snagged HN for Noah Brown and Keaton Mitchell. Okay, I have no idea how the hell did you do that? Shocked I'm getting away with it. Thanks, brother Don Accounts. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much for being a member of the flock. You know I do appreciate you. I'm sorry if sometimes it takes us a little bit too long to get back to your questions. I will try to be much better about that. Thank you so much, though, my friend. Now, let's move this back over. This next question coming out from, I believe, the Jonathan Helms says, drop Madison for Chandler rest of season. I don't need either for the weekend. If you don't need either for this weekend, I'm going to go Alexander Madison. If you really needed to start this weekend, you could go Chandler, but not if you're going long-term. You go Madison. Howie says, Kamara for Cup. Other running backs are Hall, Saquon, Javonte. You could go Cup if you wanted. Willie says, Mahomes, Bijan, HN, Amon-Ra, Cup, Nico, Hogginson, Madison, JSN, Rasheed, Komet, Dobbs, Hunt, Taji. 8-2. I'm honestly kind of surprised the team's 8-2 here, my friend. 12-team BBR, any moves. We have the elite quarterback, the elite tight end. We have running backs at the top we love, wide receivers at the top. The only thing is the depth on the team is maybe a little bit questionable. So no moves. I think we just continue to turn the waiver wire as we go through the rest of the season. Great team. Hoy's asking what we think about Devin Singletary rest of season. I hope Singletary continues to crush it. I don't even know if I want to show y'all the dollar amount that we drafted Devin Singletary in this year. Maybe I can cover up the dollar amount and just show you the percentage. But your boy has a ton of Devin Singletary. An embarrassing amount of Devin Singletary. Okay, I guess we primarily took him in high-stakes drafts because our exposure is 12%. I'm not showing you the entry fees because the entry fees are embarrassing. I hope that Devin Singletary continues to crush it. However, the realistic situation is Dameon Pierce comes in, it's a running back by committee, and nobody's viable. That's what I think probably happens, even if I hope that's not the case. Now, Vincent says 4-6, 12-team BBR double flex. Burrow, Diggs, St. Brown, Eckler, Mixon, Dell, Ridley, and then on the bench, JT, Higgins, Schultz, MT. What to do with the team? Kind of want to bring in Cup. What are your thoughts? What to send if so? I think that this team should 100% be looking to make a move, and I think it's a very simple trade to make. I think you have to take whatever value that we can get for T. Higgins, even if we're selling a little bit lower than what his rest of season ceiling is, and we probably have to move off of T. Higgins with him dealing with the hamstring injury, with the fact that we are 4-6, it's a double flex format where depth is going to matter. So I would personally look to go ahead and see what we could get for Higgins. If you wanted to try to package together like Higgins and Tank Dell to pivot over to Cooper Kupp, that could be a possibility. Obviously, you're going to have to package someone that is exciting with him. Like, you're not just going to be able to do it straight up. And I think Tank Dell could be that guy. I think he could be. Now, next question coming out from Carlos says, running back Gibbs, Swift, HN, Javonte. Receiver St. Brown, Kupp, Puka, Addison. Who to start at wide receiver in a flex? We're going to go St. Brown, Kupp at wide receiver. Running back, we're going to go Gibbs, Swift, and then flex, we're going to go HN. So start 3 running backs and start St. Brown and Kupp at wide receiver. James says 3-7, 12-team BBR. We have Tua, AJ Pittman, Bijan, Madison, Andrew Sutton, and then on the bench, Singletary, Watson, McBride, Chandler. They're going to move in Bijan plus Andrew/McBride for an elite RB, but not sure of who. What are your thoughts? If you are making this kind of deal, I think that you need someone that's already through their bye. So we're not going to be looking at like Jonathan Taylor. We're 3-7. We need points right now. I think if it's a full BBR format, obviously we want someone that's going to get involved as a receiver. So I think that we are going to go ahead. I think we're going to be looking at Austin Eckler and Travis Etienne. Now, Norris says ESPN has Hopkins as wide receiver 7, week 10 out of 8 quote-unquote experts. No idea what that's about, my friend. I'd say the community rankings from all of y'all are going to be much better than quote-unquote experts. And I say it all the time. 99% of y'all in the live chat know more than I do. So that's why I say use those community rankings on flockfantasy.com. Jorge says, just traded Walker Evans for St. Brown. What are your thoughts? I really like it. I mean, I think St. Brown has to be viewed as the top 10 asset going forward. Keaton says Dak or Josh Allen or Kyler in a must-win game. Based off rushing upside, I am going Josh Allen. I am also an idiot, but Josh Allen this season has ran laps around Dak Prescott. From a fantasy football perspective, real life, you can obviously make another argument. And then if you look at the implied team total that you have for these offenses, you have the Bills at 24 points. Obviously, you have the Dallas Cowboys higher than that at about 26. But the Cowboys should be running the ball a considerable amount. Shane says trade Watson for Kyron in Dynasty. Also traded Pollard Deontay for Bijan Gabe in redraft. I like the Bijan trade. And in terms of Watson for Kyron in Dynasty, if you are a true contender and Kyron Williams is going to move the needle for you, then you can. I'm not a fan of it. I just want to emphasize Kyron Williams is guaranteed nothing in 2024. While yes, he was great this year, and while yes, he's only in year 2, the way that the NFL treats these running backs, you have no idea what it's going to look like in the long term. Kevin says 12-team, 8-2. Trade Lamar for Justin Herbert for the playoff schedule. 6-point passing touchdown format, definitely. 4-point passing touchdown format, probably be a little bit tougher. I know the Chargers do have a great playoff schedule. I mean, I was at least what I was looking at for Keenan. Now, Fungi Chunk says 10-team BBR, 6-point passing touchdown, double flex. We have Tua, Hill, Diggs, Eckler, Pollard, Kincaid, Evans, JSN, Moss, Howell, Schultz, Charbonnet, Khalil, Samuel. I want to trade Tony. You can't trade Tony. You're not going to get anything. I think you have to hold. Honestly, phenomenal team. I hate to give you this answer. The only thing I'd say is honestly, no, I'm going to keep Dalton Schultz. Kincaid hasn't made it through his bye. Great team. You hold as is. The only thing is cut Curtis Samuel, pick up someone else off the waiver wire, but I'm not making any trades there. Okay. Now, Elliot says, need saving 12 team, have BBR 3 and 7. We have Allen, Saquon, Pollard, Diggs, Olave, Andrews, Boyd, Najee, Pickens, Kenneth. What should we look to do? 3 and 7, we really can't afford to lose another game. You can't fall to 3 and 8. You fall to 3 and 8, you're done. Fall to 4 and 8, you're done. So this is about the point where if we can pivot from one guy to another that's in a similar tier that's already made it through his bye, it's something you have to do. So if you can go through and if you can move off of Stefon Diggs and get to Amon-Ra St. Brown, get to CeeDee Lamb, those are the style trades that you have to make. Go to the community rankings, look at players that you have that have not made it through their buys, and see if you're able to go ahead and send someone like Diggs for a player ranked right next to him that has made it through his bye week already. Because we can't be dealing with a week where we have no Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs on a 3 and 7 team. I know it's a very boring thing, but sometimes it's just a small move. Now, Young Lock says, Sub Mason just traded HN and Devonta Smith for Henry, Hollywood, and Spears. We like Henry's playoff schedule. Any thoughts? Rest of the team is Lamar, Eckler, Mixon, Diggs. Okay, great team. Adams, Mark, God, yeah, great team. Smith to Hollywood is a downgrade. HN to Henry, probably a downgrade. Honestly, I don't like the trade. I love the team. I mean, if you're in love with Derrick Henry's playoff schedule, then maybe you can go ahead and do it. Just the thing is, like, Devon HN in this Miami Dolphins offense. Right now, you have an implied team total of 30 points for this Dolphins offense, you know? So, I mean, it's just so much better than Tennessee. Now, Sticks and Stone says, Superflex PPR, 6-4 record. We have Goff, Russ, Diggs, Olave, Godwin, Amari, Terry, Ridley, Laporta, Kamara, Gibbs, James Cook. Any moves to make? I mean, when you have this much wide receiver depth, I would love to send Amari and Goff, Amari and Russ, Godwin and Russ, Godwin and Goff. Essentially, one of the wide receivers with the quarterback, see if we can get a QB upgrade for the Superflex spot. I would look to do that if we could. Now, Austin says, traded James Conner for Hollywood. Is this good or no? We're skipping Ed. I think that is a fair deal, and it depends on your team. But Danny had our next one, 8-2, 14-team league. We have Burrows, Saquon, Montgomery, Spears, Anderson, Chandler, Keaton, Hill, Kupp, T, JSN, Andrews. Any moves? We want a running back upgrade. Also have Kyler to move as well. I mean, if you have Kyler to move, I mean, I think that we can sell Kyler and Saquon and pivot to an elite level RB, right? Pivot is someone that we're not worried about his respective offense with. Joe Burrow is already through his bye week. And it's a 14-team format, so I'm pretty confident that there'll be a team out there that does need to bring in Kyler Murray. And then Austin, going back to this Conner versus Hollywood non-PPR format. Honestly, I actually probably prefer James Conner in a non-PPR league. Now, Brock says 6-4, 10-team league. We have Kyler, Jones, Montgomery, Jamar, St. Brown, Kupp, McBride, Javonte, Hollywood, Ingram, Kyron. Any traits? We have 4 RB2s. And it's a 10-team league where the depth doesn't matter either. I mean, if you could consolidate, especially in a full PPR format, Montgomery's probably going to be someone that I'm looking to sell. So if you want to see if we can sell like Kyron and Montgomery, Kyron and Javonte, or I'm sorry, Montgomery and Javonte, and go pivot over to like a true RB1, such as Breece Hall, that's probably something I look to do. My issue with Montgomery is you're just going to get almost every single target going in the direction of Jahmyr Gibbs in that backfield. New Era says 10-team at BBR 6-4. Who should we start in any trade suggestions before the deadline this Sunday? Lamar, Keenan, Evans, McLaurin, DK, Flowers, Boyd, Kelsey, CMC, HN, Swift, Keaton, and James Cook. We're going to be starting Lamar at quarterback. Wide receiver, we're going to go Keenan and DK probably. Like Evans is just a brutal matchup going up against San Fran. Running back, we're going to go CMC, HN. We're going to go Swift in the flex. We're going to go Kelsey, tight end. It can be up to you between Evans and DK Metcalf at wide receiver. Or honestly, Evans, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, all about the same. Pick one of them for your wide receiver too. Just make sure that you are playing that third running back there in the flex. And then if you wanted to sell like James Cook and Mike Evans, get to an elite level receiver, you can try that. Devin says, currently taking in Dynasty. Should we sell Jacobs? If so, what's the pick value? Could possibly get a mid first. Hell yeah. I mean, I think you should. I mean, with Josh Jacobs not even on his rookie deal anymore, next year he's going to be back in that spot. Is it a franchise tag? Is it him getting some 1 to 2 year deal? Because that's how the NFL values running backs. So yes, I'd for sure sell Jacobs on a tanking team for a mid first. Now, Driz says, start 3, Barkley, Swift, H.N., Jones, and Devonta. I'm going to go with Barkley, Swift, and H.N. We're going to bench Aaron Jones and Devonta. Gerardo says 12-team BBR 5-5. Tua, JT, Hall, Pacheco, T, Kirk, Terry, Thomas. Bench isn't great, to be honest. Should we trade Hall in a wide receiver for Diggs? If your bench isn't great and it's a 12-team format rather than a 10-team league, I would say probably not. Probably significantly more likely to hold on to the depth there rather than sell whatever depth we currently have. I love the idea of going and trading for Diggs on the cheap, but especially if you have the T. Higgins injury, right? If our depth's questionable as is, I don't want to be trading away at the moment. Vincent says trade away Diggs and JT for Jefferson and Bijan. No, I definitely have Diggs and JT. I would rather have Diggs over Jefferson still. Hospital Mike says 12-team full BBR, double flex, 6-4. Need a depth spot. Would you trade Rice Pierce for Kirk rest of season? Thinking Rice might go off versus the Eagles after the bye week. Thanks, man. Thank you. I'm sorry, Rice and a piece for Kirk. We have seen it in the past, right? I mean, we have seen players go out there and kind of blow up after their bye. If they are that rookie wide receiver, they can finally get them implemented a little more. So I do think it's up to you. I mean, I'd still rather have Christian Kirk over Rashee Rice rest of season, but I do agree with the sentiment that you could see the rookie wide receiver of a big week coming out of the bye. Mark says, what's up, Mason? What tier should we look at for Saquon? Should we sell for Pollard, HN? I would say probably need a little bit more. Pick a receiver and a flex. Saquon, Waddle, Puka, T. We're going to be going Saquon, Waddle. Also rank Puka, Waddle, and T. We're going to be going Waddle, Puka, then T. I mean, if you're looking at where Saquon currently is at in the community rankings on flogfantasy.com, there you do have Devon Achane ahead of Saquon Barkley. So honestly, maybe you could. I would probably rather pivot over to Breece Hall, though, because even if the Jets' offense is bad, they can still at least move the ball down the field somewhat. Now, Scott says, no quarterback, non-BBR 6-point passing touchdown league. Stroud on the block for 2024 picks. 12-team, 16-round league. What's the highest? If it's a redraft format, you should not be selling your future picks. If it is if it's not Dynasty or a keeper league, it's crazy that you'd be able to sell 2024 picks. Now, that being said, if you could, probably anything that's a 6th or lower. But yeah, but if you're not able to keep them, right, it does put you in a very compromising position. And I'd imagine there'd be another tanking team that you could. The issue is, like, if you're then 2-8, you can sell your guys for literally anything next year. There's no counteract incentive. Like in a dynasty league, if you're tanking, then it's like, oh, okay, well, I can still have this guy next year or this pick. If it's just a redraft league and you're selling picks, a 10th round pick next year for you, if you're 2-8, is worth more than Travis Kelce. So yeah, hopefully that's not the setup. King says 12-team non-BBR 6-4, 2-2-1. Traded Walker and St. Brown for Etienne and Nico. The team's now Stroud, Etienne, Achane, Javonte, Tyreek, Kupp, Nico, Ferguson. Did we win, and how should we feel? St. Brown to Etienne, non-BBR format, decent move. Full BBR league, give me St. Brown. Kenneth Walker to Nico Collins. I don't like it. I do think that you overpaid. especially in a non-PBR format. Walker does get a little bit more of a premium. I think it's a good team, but I do think that you overpaid in the deal, my friend. Dave says, have PBR 10-team 4-6, 3-player keeper. Lawrence, Adams, Hill, Jacobs, Achane, Kincaid, Cup, Boyd, JSN, Dotson, Downs, Waddle, McBride, Palmer, Ramadre. Any moves? Okay. So I guess we do have a little bit of expendable depth when we have Waddle down there. I would say if you could sell like Ramadre Stevenson and Devonta Adams and go pivot to like a young wide receiver that is maybe better than Adams long-term, again, to give you comparable production. Actually, you don't need to do that. If it's a 3-player keeper, we should probably treat it a little more like a redraft league than a true keeper format. So honestly, no, I think you keep team as is, unless you wanted to sell Ramadre and get an upgrade in the starting lineup. I don't think you need to worry about age, though. Wyatt says, 4-6, 12-team PBR. We have Gibbs, Jacobs, Anderson, Puka, Flowers, Higgins, Boyd, Ridley, JSN, Shaheed. Someone's willing to give me CMC for Puka and Jacobs. Should we do it, or would it hurt my chances of making the playoffs? It does suck that we have the T. Higgins injury. Obviously, the wide receiver depth is going to matter a little bit more for us in the short term. So I would say it's tough to do given the T. Higgins injury, but we still do it no matter what. You still have to trade for CMC there. Now, Zach of Trade says, 8-2, 12-team PPR. Traded Lockett for Jefferson. Burrow, Pollard, Henry, Chase, Jefferson. How? Trade Henry, Olave, McBride for Etienne and Dell. Yes, I would. And honestly, you have so much depth here. I wouldn't mind taking it like Dell and Kittle and seeing if we could pivot over to an elite level tight end like Hawkinson. I think that would make a lot of sense. Now, CTE says, rate my team in this trade. It's a 12-team single flex. Burrow, Pollard, Gibbs, Cup, Keenan, Ayuk, Schultz, Ford, JSN, Gainwell, Spears. Great quarterback, great running back, and Pollard. 2 top 10 receivers, another wide receiver. Great team. Phenomenal. Well balanced as well. Traded Pollard for HN, 1-for-1. I mean, I think everybody would rather have HN at this point. Chat vote 2. Let me know your thoughts. Yeah, everybody spam the chat. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have HN or Pollard rest of season? I mean, if you go and look at the current community rankings on flogfantasy.com, you have Pollard RB17. You have HN up there RB10. I mean, I think Pollard's an interesting buy low candidate, but I think you probably prefer HN over him, and that's a great deal. But yeah, let's see what the chat has to say. HN, Pollard, HN, not even close. Does look like the majority of people are saying HN here, my friend. We got Luke and rinse and repeat still wanting Pollard, but assuming everybody else going HN. Okay. Now, I believe Sage of the East will be our next question, but we are going to have to refresh this as we pull it up. So give me 1 second. And as I do this, ladies and gentlemen, please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream. Less than 10% of y'all have hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. Today is day 201 of live streaming every single day in a row. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and a Joe Burrow special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. But let's go ahead and Sage's question. is, should we trade Montgomery, Hollywood, Quentin Johnston, for Pollard, McBride, Pickens? Quarterback, we have Herbert. Running back, Eckler, Mostert, Montgomery. Receiver, Wilson, Metcalf, Puka, Ayuk, Hollywood. Okay. So Montgomery to Pollard, downgrade. Hollywood to Pickens, downgrade. Johnston and McBride, we get a tight ends, which we don't have one currently. I would say probably not. I don't necessarily know if we're getting enough value here. I mean, if the tight end was like Dalton Kincaid instead of McBride, I'd probably do it, but I'm not in love with that. Rick says, is Lawrence worth dropping if I own Stroud and Fields? Also, is McBride worth picking up and dropping Evan Ingram? Would not drop Evan Ingram. And yes, I do think that Lawrence is worth dropping. I can't roster 3 QBs. And you're not going to get anything if you try to trade him. It wouldn't have surprised me at all if he crushes it down the rest of the stretch. But if I had to pick 2 quarterbacks there rest of the season, I would go Fields and Kyler, and I don't want to roster 3. King Flores says Walker and Ford for Etienne and Madison. Oh, yeah, we're going to go Etienne. Not even close either, especially if we have the depth as well. Great deal. Aiden says 5-5, 12-team BBR with Tua, Pollard, Gibbs, Terry, Addison, Kelsey, Godwin, Ridley on the bench. No one in my league wants to trade. Who could we get for 2 of our receivers? I am very sorry to tell you this. Nobody's trading for Jordan Addison right now. Nobody's trading for Godwin right now. Nobody's trading for Ridley right now. I would love to give you a better answer. I'd love to give you a more exciting answer. And I'd love to say, oh yeah, just make this easy deal. It's going to be, no. The reality of the situation is you're probably stuck as is. And I don't know if there's an easy answer outside of just hoping our wide receivers just end up getting better, to be honest with you. Now, next question coming out from Long Schlong says, started 0-3, now 6-4. It's a 12-team PPR, single flex. We have Burrow, Goff, James Cook, Leonard Fournette, Gibson, Chase, Tank, Deontay, JSN, Michael Wilson, McBride, and Njoku. Thinking about sending a package for another running back. Any ideas? First off, congrats on the comeback, my friend. I agree. I think it would be really nice to go and add another running. I just don't know realistically what we could do here. Like, what's the expendable piece that we have that has a considerable amount of value that we can get something for? Like, unless I'm blind, I'm not seeing anything. Deontay's our wide receiver 3. JSN's our wide receiver 4. We're not really getting anything for JSN right now. I mean, if you could sell James Cook and JSN and go get a decent upgrade, we would. I would just be very surprised if you could find like a running back that you're excited about for someone wanting to trade for Jackson Smith and Jigba at this current moment. So I'm sorry. I think you are kind of stuck as is, my friend. Brian says 10-team full BBR, 4-6. Herbert, Walker, Gibbs, Kupp, Lamb, Laporta, Smith, and then on the bench, Hopkins, Burrow, Higgins, Jameson, Judy, Stroud. Who could I get for Walker and a quarterback? Full BBR format, I like the idea. We are sitting with Burrow and Herbert. So if you wanted to sell Herbert and Kenneth Walker and pivot over to like Jonathan Taylor, I think that would make a ton of sense. Maybe not Jonathan Taylor, maybe like ETN, Austin. I would ask for a lot, to be honest with you. I think that JT probably would be that guy I'd start off with, though. Now, Samuel says Kelsey, Waller, and T for Jamar, Schultz, and Bijan. I mean, that's Walker. So Kelsey to Jamar, upgrade. Walker to Bijan, upgrade. T to Schultz, downgrade. I'm going to go with the Jamar side. Jose says 10-team BBR single flex, 3-7 and 1 win away from 6th. We have Herbert, Kyler, Jefferson, Puka, Olave, Moore, Etienne, Walker, Javonte, Taylor, Achane, Kincaid, McBride. Any trades I should aim for? So we're 3-7. We need to be thinking about wins right now and not later on. So we actually said this a little bit earlier on as well. But I mean, if you could go through and if you could look at wide receivers that have yet to go through their bye on your team and go and send them off and get an upgrade elsewhere, right? Like send off, say, Justin Jefferson and package him with one of these lesser pieces and maybe go get to CeeDee Lamb, go get to Amon-Ra St. Brown, go get to someone that we are more so confident with, especially when you're going to get an extra game out of them. Because when you're 3-7 and we're assuming you have 4 weeks left of your fantasy football regular season, having a guy go through a bye week, he's going to miss 25% of your regular season in what's left. And we just simply can't afford that to happen, you know? So I would love to see if we could make a pivot like that, my friend. I think that'd make a lot of sense. Now, work for what you want. Always happy to see us as 8-2 at BBR. Traded Allen, Hockenson, and Warren for Mahomes, Kelsey, Flowers. So Allen to Mahomes, lateral move. Hockenson to Kelsey, upgrade. Warren to Flowers. So then before the week, also traded JSN for Keaton. I don't love the Keaton trade. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, we are getting reports saying Keaton's going to have an expanded role. What does that mean? Does he now see 10% of the backfield instead of 5%? But yeah, the Kelsey deal I do like, even though you actually have TJ Hockenson as the number 1 tight end in fantasy currently. But he has yet to go through his bye. Kelsey has. I think it makes sense. Now, Jackson says 12 team, 6-4. CMC, Pacheco, T, Hopkins, JSN, Kelsey, and Williams. Any moves? I mean, if we don't have a court, it's hard to know without the bench, to be honest with you. I mean, we have the elite level tight end. If you add another viable tight end down there on the bench, like if you picked up Kincaid for free, maybe you sell him and see if you can go get an upgrade from Hopkins. Max says Deontay, Hunt, McBride for Amari, and then Tua for Keaton and Fields. Keaton Mitchell has very little value right now, ladies and gentlemen. He is 100% worth a roster spot, and you should pick him up and see if his role does change in a dramatic way. Still probably going to be a 3-man running back by committee in Baltimore where it's very hard to predict what's going to happen. You need Amari's not worth the first package. If you would rather have Fields over Tua, then yes, make that deal. But it honestly, probably not. You probably want Tua. Now, Spencer says, start Russ or Lawrence this week. Missing Kirk right now. That is brutal, my friend. I'm going to go with the Lawrence bounce back. I know it's aggressive. I'm going to go with the Lawrence bounce back, though, not having to go through and play this great 49ers defense. Okay. Now, our next question coming out from Valami says, 12-team BBR. My team is Lamar, Wilson, Puka, Kamara, Saquon, Kincaid, Flowers. And then on the bench, London, JSN, Dobbs. I want to shop Lamar and or Saquon. What are your thoughts? Realistically speaking, I don't think you're going to get anything for Lamar right now. I think you're much better off holding on to Lamar Jackson. He's still averaging like 40, 50 rushing yards per game. But we really need from Lamar is we just need to see him go out there and score some rushing touchdowns. It hasn't happened. Hopefully it begins happening. Saquon, on the other hand, is 100% someone that I'm looking to get rid of. I mean, if you can send Saquon and Joshua Dobbs and maybe go pivot over to like Jonathan Taylor. I think I would. I think I would. Now, Miller Campus says 12-team double flex, 8-2. Just traded Walker and Andrews for Kelsey. Team is now Hurts, CMC, Montgomery, Devonta, Kelsey, HN, Javonte. Definitely overpaid, but thinking about the playoffs, what are your thoughts? I agree. I think we overpaid. And if you are looking at the situation in which we overpaid in, my issue is it's going to be a 12-team double flex format where the depth actually matters a little bit more there. So I think that's a format that it is tough to overpay and get away with it. With that being said, obviously it is a great team here, right? It is a great team. Now, Zach says 6-4, 12-team BBR. We have Purdy, Swift, Montgomery, Cook, Gibbs, Kupp, Wilson, Olave, Ingram, Logan Thomas. was offered Kelsey and JSN for Cook, Ingram, and Wilson. Do we do it? Hell yes. Go get Travis Kelce. I think it's a much more reasonable price point compared to the trade that we previously saw. I think it's a team that can afford to do it as well if you look at the very top. Jaggy says Mason the Dog Bowl is 36 entries. If you had 2 entries, what would your draft strategy be? Would you do 2 completely different, unique lineups or pick specific players you both like if given the chance? Do you have 2 teams going to the Dog Bowl, my man? Is that what you are telling us here? I would say, 1, I am an idiot. I am probably not the right guy to be asking. There are definitely people that are more qualified to talk DFS than I am. I'll do it for fun on the side, but the reason I'll focus a ton in on DFS is just over my head. I'm not smart enough to do it, my friend. Or at least I haven't been able to prove over a large enough sample that I'm a winning player like we have been able to in other formats. Since it is a smaller field, I don't necessarily think that you have to look to get super unique. How I typically have been attacking the Dog Bowl over the past 2 weeks on Underdog is that final round. I've been trying to grab someone that's a little bit further down ADP, obviously get someone unique compared to the rest of the field. I don't think it's going to matter as much if it's only a 36 entry. I think you probably just at least treat it as if you would a regular draft almost in a way, and that you take the values that fall to you early on, and then you build your game stack around said values. No? So, I mean, if CeeDee Lamb falls to you at pick 7 and you go, okay, yeah, I guess we're going to take Lamb here, then all of a sudden you realize that you're building around that Dallas stack. Obviously, I don't know who they're playing that week, but yeah, I would say that probably I'm not changing my ideas compared to what we usually do. But if you have 2 teams going to the finals, that is incredible, my friend. Now, the People's Champ says, and I wouldn't actively go for players on the same team. I wouldn't actively go for players on separate team. Obviously, you don't want to be building around one game stack with both rosters. But I don't know. I'm always fluid like water in drafts. I never go into a draft saying this is exactly what I have to do. And maybe that would be a better process in the Underdog drafts. At least in the Underdog, more so DFS drafts. Now, the People's Champ says 1.5 PPR 4 tight ends. Are we going to go David Njoku or Jake Ferguson this week? Probably going to go Ferguson just with the touchdown upside you have in Dallas. Ernest says, I have to win this week. Trade Bijan for Puka. I would assume you could get a lot more value for Bijan. I would try to get a little more there, my friend. I mean, if you're looking at the flogfantasy.com rankings right now, Bijan is 21 overall, and these are the community rankings. This is how y'all valuing these players, not how I am valuing these players. But Bijan is 21 overall, and Puka is 42 overall. Now, JJ says, 10T BBR double flex. Kyler, Eckler, Swift, Amon-Ra, DJ Moore, Laporta, Wilson, Devonta. And then on the bench, Fields, HN, Najee, Chandler, Ferguson. Are we set for playoffs? And where can we upgrade? Honestly, I think we are set. I mean, if you were to do anything, maybe you see what you could get if you wanted to go through and sell a quarterback. But honestly, I think you're going to be sitting on your hands here, right? We don't have any real positional needs, and we have a very well-balanced roster top to bottom. I love that team. Now, Balls Deep coming out saying 3-7, full BBR, 12-team league. Howell, Jones, Barkley, Diggs, Ridley, Puka, Kincaid, Watson. And then on the bench, Hunt, Juju, Thomas, Goddard. How do we get better? Picking up Elijah, Johnson, Gibson off the waiver wire. So the thing is, we're 3-7. We got to think about right this second. Very rarely do I say this. Usually we're trying to build around the studs, but honestly, I think with the lack of depth that this team has, you probably do have to look to break up these guys like Stefon Diggs. You probably have to look to sell Stefon Diggs and get back 2 startable players in return, especially as Stefon Diggs is not through his bye already, right? So I think I would. I think I would. Now, Dinky says, should we look to move on for Diggs? How do you think he'll be rest of season? I think Diggs will be fine rest of season. It's just like specifically if you're a team that you're 3-7, you need points right this second. It's nothing against Diggs. It's just, oh, okay, well, he's only going to play 3 out of the next 4 games, right? And we need someone to be good to go every single week. Now, Saram coming out saying 5-5, 12-team shallow PPR. Hurts, Hall, Bijan, Achane, Hunt, Gibson, Royce, A.J. Brown, Amari, Gabe, Jason, Dobbs, McBride. Traded Amari and Hunt for Devonta Adams. Was this a good deal? Great deal, my friend. Should have gone for someone like a Waddle, Lave, or Gibbs. I mean, if you could have, you would. But it's a shallow format. Hunt really not doing anything for you. You're definitely getting an upgrade from Amari to Devonta Adams. So, yeah, I think it's a good deal. I mean, if you could have gotten a better receiver, of course. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. But no, good deal. Now, Creed Biet says 10-team full BBR 6-4. Tight end bonus extra flex. Goff, CMC, Eckler, Diggs, Amon-Ra, Kincaid, JT, McBride, Kyron. Should we move Kyron and McBride? If it's a double flex league, it'd be a little bit less excited to do it. But if Kyron's your RB4, then yeah, I mean, you can't afford to go out there and you can afford to make that swing. My thing is, though, Kincaid's not through his bye. You will get McBride for the bye. And at the same time, if it is a tight end premium format, I mean, hell, maybe you could start McBride in one of those flexes. I think you can do it. You just don't have to. Now, next is coming out from David says, Kyler, JT, Javonte, Singletary, Lamb, Jamar, Jefferson, Jonnu. And then starting on the bench, we have Charbonnet, Addison, JSN, Chuba, Anderson. Any trade ideas? 12-team full PPR, where I'm currently 6-4. Okay. We don't really have a lot of depth here. I mean, we have the rookies on the bench that have upside. I would say don't necessarily have any trade ideas. Really, this is a team that just desperately needs Jefferson back in. And we need to continue to churn the waiver wire and hopefully find a viable tight end rest of season. Hopefully find the next Trey McBride. But honestly, I mean, you're in a great spot. Now, Rob says 5-5 Superflex. We have Lamar Fields, both with the Week 13 bye. Kyler as well. Should we trade Lamar London for AJ Carr? With a guy who played Week 12, beat him once, but he's 6-4. I don't want to be giving him like a sweetheart deal just so he has a player on a bye week, the week that we play him. Which I do think that this is a sweetheart deal, to be honest. Lamar. Actually, no, you can make the deal. Never mind. Because if you really think through this, Lamar, AJ Brown, Superflex, tomato, kind of up to you. However, Drake London, Derek Carr, give me Derek Carr. And at the same time, if you're punting Lamar over to him, and we are getting a startable quarterback in return. Actually, no, never mind. It's not on the buys don't line up. Never mind. I was misreading it. You can't, yeah, you can definitely do it though, because I think London to Carr is going to be an upgrade, assuming that Carr is good to go that week. Assuming he is. G says, traded Ayuk and Hawkinson for Brees, Jefferson, and Pitts. I'm 7-3 full BBR. With Kincaid as my backup, was that a good deal? Hawkinson to Jefferson, give me Jefferson. Ayuk to Brees, give me Brees. Phenomenal trade. Willie says, Nico and Bijan for JT and Kamara. Oh, JT and Kamara, not close. Keaton says, does it matter if we play Allen against Diggs? No, that does not matter at all. Play Josh Allen even if you're going up against Stefon Diggs. Nate says, 10-team BBR 5-5. 8th place. Start 2 quarterbacks, 3 receivers, and a flex. Mahomes, Lamar, Kupp, Hollywood, London, Judy, Watson, JT, Montgomery, Achane, Pierce, Charbonnet, Kelsey. What to do? We were offered Lamar and Achane for McLaurin, Waddle, and Stroud. So Stroud to Lamar, if it's a 4-point passing touchdown format, honestly, maybe give me Lamar. Waddle and McLaurin to Achane, it's a 3 wide receiver league. So honestly, I'm not in love with the deal. You can make it if you really wanted to. The team doesn't have a lot of wide receiver depth, but we do have Kelsey. We have the elite quarterbacks. We have the elite tight end. We have running backs at the very top we're excited about. I think the team will be much better now that Stafford's coming back in and helping out Kupp. Now that Achane's coming back in for the flex. The trade's kind of whatever, and it's up to you. If you really wanted to go get Waddle, McLaurin, CJ, I would understand it. It does kind of come down to what you're expecting with Lamar versus Stroud rest of season, though. I still would rather have Lamar over Stroud in fantasy. Samuel says, Fields, Javonte, Walker, T, Deontay, Kelsey, Ridley, Spears, JSN, Boyd. Any moves? Want to trade Walker badly? Trade Kelsey for a stud wide receiver to mid tight end. No, sirree. We are going to hold on to Travis Kelsey. Or if you wanted to make a move, I think we are going to be looking to sell Kenneth Walker. And yeah, see if we can pivot over and get to a running back we're a little bit more excited about if this is a full PPR format. Now, the instance in which we would sell Travis Kelsey as well for a stud receiver to mid tight end is if this is a league where you're like 4-6 and need a win right now and we have the T. Higgins injury. If that's the case, we'll make a move. However, if we are thinking long-term for the fantasy football playoffs, then probably not. You probably prefer the upside of just having the best tight end in fantasy, even if the guy has been Hawkinson so far this season. Now, our next question coming out from Lopez says, Boyd, Deontay, or Ridley, who are we going to start? So Boyd does have a very tough matchup going up against a good Baltimore Ravens defense. So for that reason, I probably go with Deontay Johnson, especially if we now have a fully healthy Jamar Chase. But J Magnum says 5-5, 7th place, 10-team 5-5. Hurts, Bijan, Jacobs, Walker, Madison, Waddle, T, Hollywood, JSN, Kelsey, and Kincaid. Would love to package Walker, Kincaid, any targets. Thank you. No, thank you, my friend. I 100% agree. If we have Kelsey, this is the move that we're looking to make. I mean, just understand, Kincaid's a top 5 tight end, right? So we need a good price point if we are going to do it. I think we're going to go get to Breece Hall, go get to Jahmyr Gibbs, probably even a little bit higher. I would first offer it for Eckler ETN, offer for Jonathan Taylor. That'd be my starting point, and then work our way down from there. And obviously, you can look at the community rankings as a little more of a guide as well. Jacob says, no idea how, but I'm 5-5 at a 10-team full BBR, double flex. Burrow, Etienne, JT, Saquon, Bijan, Diggs, AJ, Jefferson, Lockett, Deontay, Kelsey, Ferguson. Do we sit on our hands? Double flex, yes. I mean, this is a phenomenal team. I have no idea how we were 5-5. One thing that we could look to do is if you really wanted to see if we could sell like Deontay and Saquon Barkley to pivot to a running back that's in a better offense like Jonathan Taylor, maybe. I mean, you already have JT, but just that as an example. Maybe we can look to make that play. I mean, that's a phenomenal team, though. Now, Akiva says, trade DK for Pacheco. Happy BR. We have HN, Jacobs, Hunt, Hill, Puka, Douglas, DK, Hopkins, Addison. If it is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, yes, we can do it. Trying for Mitchell or Singletary on the waiver wire. Oh, yeah, I definitely prefer Singletary between the two. RJ says, PBR start 2, Jason, Pickens, Warren, Rice. Bye week suck. 100%, my friend. Probably going to go with Rashee Rice. And your call between Jalen Warren and JSN. Warren just has a really tough matchup. Roy says CMC and Higgins for my Chase and Devonta. I'm going to go CMC and Higgins. I don't think it's going to be too close either. Cade says 12-team PBR. Lamar, Eckler, Jones, Lamb, Evans, Laporta, Ayuk. I'm being offered St. Brown, Kelsey for Evans, Laporta, Ayuk. If yes, I need a flex. We could get Hollywood or Sutton, possibly McLaurin for Kyler. Do I jump on this? Any ideas? I think you need a lot more if we are selling Kyler, my friend. I mean, looking at Ayuk, Laporta, Evans versus St. Brown, Kelsey. Laporta to Kelsey upgrade. Evans to St. Brown, massive upgrade. We're paying Ayuk to get it done. 100% get St. Brown and Travis Kelsey. And then I wouldn't mind you going through, and if we have Lamar looking to sell a quarterback and picking up an extra flex based off that depth that we lost, all I would ask is that we get a much better piece in return. Like, let's go ahead. Let's look at the community rankings right now on flogfantasy.com and see what wide receivers are currently next to Kyler Murray. And this is free on flogfantasy.com, my friend. You don't even need an account to view this. You can just go ahead and pull this up anytime you want. We're going to look at QBs and wide receivers. Kyler's next, like DJ Moore, Kirk, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Amari, Debo, Adam Thielen. These are going to be like the wide receivers that I'd try to sell Kyler for. We're not going to do like Sutton. Like, I think there's almost no reason for that. Now, we can actually move this over to the other screen now, ladies and gentlemen. Cody says, we go wide receiver. Montgomery owner offered Mixon and Dell for my Gibbs. Is this fair? Kinda. I would want a better receiver, to be honest. I mean, if it's a full BBR format, Gibbs gonna crush. Jonathan says 5-5, 12-team league. We have Kyler, Fields, Hall, Gibbs, Chase, Puka, Smith, Kincaid, Montgomery, JSN, Charbonnet, Nico. Trade Puka and Montgomery for Cooper Kupp or upgrade the team elsewhere. I like the idea when you have this kind of depth, and you can even look to do this deal. You just need a much better price in return. You need Lamb, you need Diggs, you need St. Brown, you need Chase, you need Jefferson. I like the idea a lot, especially if it's a full BBR format. Just need to ask for a better wide receiver. Max says, is Michael Carter worth the free pickup? She got cut from the Jets. No, he's not. Chris says, we have Taylor Stevenson, no bench depth. Wide receiver, Hill, Kupp, Ayuk, Hollywood. Should I trade Hill for Eckler? It's a 12-team map BBR, traditionally 7-3 currently. Okay. I mean, obviously, we're very strong here at wide receiver, but no, I'm still going to keep Tyreek Hill over Austin Eckler, even in that instance. Johnny says 12-team, 3-receiver, have BBR, and a full BBR for tight end. Mahomes, Lockett, Atwell for Hurts, Addison. At wide receiver, we have Chase, Diggs, Waddle, Smith, so wide receiver isn't an issue. Mahomes to Hurts, up to you. Lockett, Atwell to Addison. Atwell has literally zero value, so do you want Lockett or Addison? And with Jefferson coming back in, that's a real question. So, I mean, honestly, very fair trade. You can do it if you want. I mean, I do fundamentally view Mahomes and Jalen Hurts in the same tier, though. Professor X says 8-2 non-PBR. We need a running back. Trade Dotson or Douglas for Dowdle or Keaton Mitchell. You can. I'd be going Keaton Mitchell, not Dowdle, if you had to pick between the two. I'd probably want it, though. Jaros to say Mason Pollard for Mostert in a 12-team BBR format. Full BBR league, I would rather have Pollard over Mostert given the receiving usage, but I'm a crazy person. Now, Xavier says 8-2, 12-team PBR double flex. We have Dak, Mixon, Swift, Keenan, AJ, White, Ford, and then on the bench, Kittle, Wilson, Rice, Edwards, JSN, Charbonnet, Noah Brown, Jefferson coming off the IR, any moves. Okay. Jefferson coming off the IR. It's going to help us out a considerable amount with our depth. What do you mean Kittle's on your bench? Are we not having to start at tight ends? Regardless, the only thing I'd say is I think George Kittle is going to be that sell high candidate. I mean, if you are looking at George Kittle, this is a tight end that has a massive split through his history in games with and without Deebo Samuel. When you've had Deebo Samuel playing, George Kittle has been in a really tough spot when it comes to his target volume. When Deebo Samuel misses, George Kittle dominates. Well, Kittle did have the big spike week this week with another week of like over 100 receiving yards. He had like 3 or 4 targets. Max says, any moves 5 and 5 through receivers. We have Allen, Kyler, Etienne, Javonte, Charbonnet, Fournette, Chase, Jefferson, Pittman, Addison, Jason, Dobbs, Johnston. Tight end, we have Hawkinson. I've tried to move Kyler, but no bites. Well, Kyler is startable, right? And we're not going to be able to get any value out of him if we can't trade him. So maybe if you wanted to go on the other end of the spectrum, if you wanted to send like Josh Allen and Javonte Williams and see if we can go get a top 5 running back that way. Go see if you can get someone like Austin Eckler. Maybe you could look to do that, my friend. Especially if it's a PPR league. John says, looking to stack with Kyler, Wilson or Rondale. Rondale probably has a higher floor, but I think Wilson has a higher ceiling. So probably Wilson. Because, I mean, Rondale's had every opportunity throughout his entire career, and he hasn't done anything. I'm just there, says, yo, 8-team Superflex PBR. Stroud, Purdy, Fields. CMC, Swift, Gibbs, Bijan, Jones, Connor. Jefferson, Debo, Addison, McLaurin. Any trade ideas that we could make? I would love to send Aaron Jones and CJ Stroud, James Conner and CJ Stroud, pivot to a top 4 quarterback. Go get someone like Allen. Go get Mahomes. Go get Hurts. If you do that, I think it'd be a no-brainer in an 8-team format especially. But honestly, great team. I don't think you really need to do anything there. John says, are you worried about Mostert when HN's back? Yeah, we've had Mostert as that sell-high candidate over the past few weeks with preparation of HN coming back in. But full transparency, I still have Raheem Mostert ranked as a top 10 running back this week. I know this is going to sound crazy, and let me know in the live chat how bad this is. I already made our running back rankings. The video comes out tomorrow. And I have both Detroit Lions running backs inside my top 10 and both Miami Dolphins running backs inside my top 10 as well. How bad is that, ladies and gentlemen? Is that laughably bad? Or like, am I going to be embarrassed when we put out that video tomorrow? Or is it reasonable to rank both Montgomery, Gibbs inside the top 10 and Achane and Mostert inside the top 10? Okay. I don't know. My thing is, if you look at like the implied team totals that you have for the offenses this week, you have Miami and Detroit supposedly being the highest scoring offenses according to Vegas Sportsbooks. Kevin says trade Adams, Warren, Singletary for Amon-Ra St. Brown. 16-team league where we got to start 3 receivers. We do have some running back depth. We're currently 8-2. If you think Pierce comes in and splits the backfield with Singletary, then sure. If this was a 10-team league, if this is a 12-team format, yes, we are running to the bank and we're laughing as we do it when we take Amon-Ra St. Brown. It is tough, though, with the depth mattering so much. Rusty, always happy to see you, says, hey, Mason, Kyler Dell Ford for Kupp and Warren, yea or nay? Ford to Warren, slight downgrade. Kyler Dell to Kupp. If you have another great quarterback, we'll go Kupp. Now, 6BU says, just traded Fields, Walker, Puka for Lamar and Debo. We have CMC, Brees, Tyreek, Dell, Kelsey, Ridley, Watson, Jason. Any thoughts? Need another running back to get. Puka to Debo, downgrade. Fields to Lamar, upgrade. We're paying Walker to get it done. Fine trade. But yeah, now we are put in a very difficult spot where we do have to go out there and we probably have to make a play for a running back. If we're trading for a running back, typically we are going to have to go through and probably going to have to sell Tank Dell. I mean, Tank Dell's crushing it right now, but I mean, that would be the expendable piece on the team. High Valley says 8-2, 12-team at BBR. Hurts, Smith, Deontay, Walker, Brees, Schultz, White, Addison, JSN, Charbonnet, Kyler, Ingram, Kyron, Jefferson. Trade Brees for Amon-Ra in any other. Oh, hell yes. Do that. Make that move. No brainer, especially as we're preparing to get Kyron Williams back in. And then outside of that, I don't really have too many trades. Just wait until you get Jefferson back in. I think another side note is I'm going to be starting Evan Ingram over Dalton Schultz when Nico Collins is back. Ross says Puka and Kamara for Henry and DK. Full PPR. Full PPR, give me Puka and Kamara. Durag says 4-6, 10-team, full BBR. Burrow, Kenneth, Pacheco, Kareem, Kyron, Pierce, Algier, Tyreek, Lamb, McLaurin, Deontay, Rice. Any moves? Full BBR format. Walker will be someone I'm looking to get rid of. If you can sell Deontay and Walker and pivot over to a running back that we're a little bit more excited about, go get someone like Gibbs. Obviously, that'd be a no-brainer. Maybe go get someone like Breece Hall. It's a really tough schedule going forward with Walker, and he's not going to catch the ball. Now, Tonfa, I'm happy to see it. Says, should we trade Bijan and McBride for Kamara? Happy BR. We already have Laporta. Other running backs are H.N. Jones, Kareem Hunt, and 5-5. Thank you. Thank you. Happy BR format. I am less excited about Alvin Kamara, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I mean, if you're looking at the rest of season community rankings on flockfantasy.com, you currently have Bijan Robinson, RB9, Kamara, RB5. Separated by only 6 overall spots in the rankings, so these guys can flip-flop back and forth. I don't know. It's up to you. I'm just not as excited to go through and trade for Kamara, knowing that Bijan has the best fantasy football playoff schedule of any running back in the NFL. And Logbart says 6-4 full BBR. Herbert, Pollard, Connor, Puka, Wilson, Kincaid, Smith, and Addison. Traded Jefferson for JT and Connor. Good move. Also traded Downs, JSN for Addison. How do we do? Trade Herbert, Addison for Mahomes. I would love the Mahomes deal, and I think it would make the Addison trade worth it. So I like the team a lot. I will say Herbert has a great schedule going forward. But in the case of Jordan Addison, we have to be realistic here in that this is a wide receiver that's still going to be in a low volume passing attack, even if everybody on the planet, including myself, is rooting for Joshua Dobbs. Addison's probably going to be third on the target totem pole behind Jefferson and Hawkinson. So I think it does make sense. Neil says, what up, sexy? Happy to see you, my man. Thank you for stopping by. Abstract uses Flowers and Njoku for Kelsey. It's a dynasty league. We have Freiermuth, Taysom, and Njoku, Hopkins, Keenan, Johnson, Dell. Super simple. Does trading for Kelsey win you the league this year? Are you a contender, and does Kelsey put you over the top? If so, let's do it. If so, let's do it, my friend. If you're sitting at 4-6, then you have no business trading Flowers for trading for a tight end that's about to be 34 years old. Now, Chris coming out saying 12-team PPR 9-1. We have Herbert, Hall, Kyron, Warren, Madison, Spears, Jefferson, Chase, Allen, Olave, Douglas, Kelsey. Traded Evans, Henry for Jefferson, Madison. Is this a good move? And any other moves? Solid move, 9-1. We are thinking long-term now that we have the wide receiver depth. If you really wanted to see if we could send, say, like Chris Olave and Kyron Williams and go get a stud running back, maybe we turn around, look to do that. In reality, probably just chilling, probably sitting on your hands. David says, keeper league, 2 receivers, 1 flex. Can trade an 8th-round pick for Amari. I would start Amari over Hopkins. Are you a contender? You know, like the same thing. Is this going to put you over the edge? The extra 1.5 points per game that you're going to get from Amari Cooper rather than DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, minimal price point with an 8th round pick, but still. Evil says, hey, Mason, I want to trade Walker, Jones, Rice for ETN, is this a good offer? I mean, I would rather have ETN there. I mean, even if it's a double flex format, it's still only a 10-team league. We have Herbert, Bijan, Connor, Kupp, DK, Thielen, Dell, Kincaid, Goddard. Yeah, I think we go ahead, make a move like this. We have plenty of depth to get it done. Then we're going to go ahead and start ETN, Bijan alongside each other. We have great wide receivers as well. We're just waiting to get Goddard back in. I think great spot, and yeah, you can look to make that move. Braze says 10-team, 7-3 PBR. We have Hurts, CMC, Eckler, Smith, Puka, Laporta, Jacobs, Terry, Dell, Moss, Spears, London, JSN, Charbonnet. Lost by 20 points to the second place 8-2 team. What to do? I mean, we're sitting at 7-3. We're still chilling, right? I mean, we have CMC, Austin Eckler. We have the RB1 and RB2 going forward. We have an elite level quarterback. Our wide receiver position will be better. Beautiful team. The only thing is, if you really wanted to sell, like, say, Dell and Terry and go get a better wide receiver for the flex in this kind of format, maybe you look to do that, but great spot. Zach says 12-team league, Jefferson for Evans and Wilson. What are your thoughts? I'm probably going to prefer Jefferson there, my friend. Kevin says, what's up? Once again, 14-team league, Goff, Chase, Debo, Walker, and Njoku, Myers. And then on the bench, Foreman, Deontay, Goddard, Gus, Pierce. Any moves to make before the deadline? Thank you. Thank you. Depth's going to matter so much more in a 14-team format. Obviously, this team's been kind of decimated here with injuries to Goddard and Dameon Pierce. We have Gus as that viable depth piece. The only thing I'd say is probably could look to pivot off of Kenneth Walker in a full PPR format now that Zach Charbonnet is seeing literally everything as the receiver in this backfield. However, obviously that is in a full PPR format. And it'll be tougher to make that move in a 14-team league as well. Bracey says, also my league includes week 18. I would be so pissed. Like, week 18 is not something you have to be dealing with. I mean, I'm not even going to make videos for week 18. Maybe I live stream that Sunday morning, but I'm checking out by the time it gets to week 18. Like, there's no way you can try to figure out, oh, who's going to be playing their guys, who's going to be sitting there, guys. Hunter says 6-4 in a 14-team league. We have Burrow, Fields, Gibbs, Pollard, Hunt, Evans, Ridley, Addison, Collins, Downs, Jonnu, Mayer. Any moves? Looking for a running back and tight end, probably. I mean, yeah, if you are looking at this team, I'd more so be prioritizing what we could have at tight end. Super simple, right? I think you just wait till you get Justin Fields back in. Wait till people realize, oh, yeah, Justin Fields is a good option in fantasy based off his rushing upside. And then see if we can go through and send Justin Fields and get a viable tight end option. I mean, if you can do that, really simple, not a really big move whenever we have Joe Burrow, though. Clearly, is someone we can start every single week, regardless of matchup. Now, Globes to the Dome says Mahomes, Mixon, Gibbs, Kupp, Lamb, Laporta, Debo. White, Pacheco on the bench. Any changes to the lineup? All the running backs have tough matchups. Yeah, so Mixon, really tough matchup. Gibbs doesn't. Gibbs good to go. No concerns whatsoever. But yeah, White, Pacheco, tough matchups as well. So no, we're going to keep this as is, my friend. I mean, if it was a non-PBR format, you could go with one of the running backs over Debo for the flex, though. Soothing Music says, if I offer a trade Lamb and Bijan for Tyreek before week 10, is it wrong to change my mind after week 10? I don't think so. If something fundamentally changed, then no. If it was like you made a deal today on Tuesday and then changed your mind on Wednesday, I think that's crappy. But if you made a deal and then games were played, I think it's normal to change your mind. Steve says, Commanders or Lions defense, Fields might be back. We're to go with the Commanders defense, where the New York Giants, yet again, have the lowest implied team total of any team in the NFL this week. Hooser says, Goff or Kyler rest of season. We're going to go Kyler. Want to move a quarterback plus something to upgrade wide receiver, running back. We have Barkley, JT, Connor, Singletary, Chandler, AJ, Pittman, Hopkins, JSN. Phenomenal team. Honestly, I mean, I don't necessarily think you need to do anything. If you could sell Goff and, say, DeAndre Hopkins and go get a wide receiver upgrade, let's do it. And while I would rather have Kyler over Goff rest of season, at the same time, I mean, so would everybody else, right? So if you are taking that into account in how you're going to go through and trade these guys, you do have to understand if you were to trade Goff instead of Kyler, you're probably going to be getting less in return. Jamil says 8-2. We have Hurts, AJ, Amonra, ETN, Javonte, Laporta, Waddle. Goff is a backup. Do you think we trade Goff for a security back? Probably not. I mean, you can try. The thing is, if you go over to vlogfantasy.com and look at the community rankings of Jared Goff currently, Goff's like QB 14, right? So if you are looking at this, I don't necessarily know how excited people are to go through and trade for Jared Goff right now. I mean, especially as we get these guys that were injured previously back in at quarterback. Mostly says full BBR traded Pollard and JSN for Bijan Robinson, win or loss. I think it's a win. A Bijan best playoff schedule of any running back. Now, Lil Boy Blue says currently 9-1, trade Saquon for Pollard. No, he'd probably rather have Saquon. Pollard, much better offense, though. Jesse says Hurts, Eckler, Madre, Waddle, Smith, Laporta, DK, Dobbs, Pickens, Myers, Goddard. Do we make a trade? Feel like we need an elite receiver. I mean, if you were to go get an elite level receiver, the question is, what can we give up? Starting lineup is solid. I mean, down there, if you could sell Dobbs and George Pickens and go get a wide receiver upgrade, Dobbs and Myers go get a wide, yeah, let's do it. In reality, much easier said than done. I don't really know if we have the depth where we have the value where we can pull off an elite receiver trade. David says 10-team full BBR, Mahomes, Etienne, Brees, Montgomery, Waddle, Diggs, Kittle, Ayuk, 5-5, need to win out for the playoffs. Any moves? Full BBR format, Montgomery is someone that I'm a little bit shaky on. I mean, if you're looking at this team, he does fit the roster, though. I mean, it's a great team. I would say maybe I'm more so focused in on going through and looking to see if we can sell George Kittle in a package with a wide receiver that we have down there on that bench to pivot over to someone like Sam Laporta, to pivot over to someone like, I mean, even Dalton, I'd sell Kittle for Kincaid. Probably not if you have to win out, though, of course, with Kincaid not going through his bye already. Now, Travesty says, full BBR, 10-team single flex. Traded the Dallas defense, Gibbs, Herbert, Saquon, Addison. For the Saints defense, Mahomes, Tyreek, Ford. So Herbert to Mahomes upgrade. Saquon, Addison for Tyreek, massive upgrade. Or let's go Gibbs, Saquon for Tyreek. Probably give me Tyreek. Addison versus Ford, up to you. Paying the Dallas defense. I'm fine with it in a 10-team league single flex. Thank you for clarifying the league format. We already have CMC here as well. So we are going through and combining CMC, Patrick Mahomes, and Tyreek Hill. Freaking nuts. We're definitely paying the depth to get it done, but in that format, you can afford to go out there and give up the depth. Roy says trade away Chase and Javonte for CMC and Higgins. Yes, give me CMC and Higgins, my friend. I think we answered this earlier. But Tyreek and Devonta at wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, and Pollard. Oh, yeah, especially if you have this wide receiver core. Let's go get CMC. Pat says 12-team BBR 8-2. We have Stroud, Barkley, Gibbs, Lamb, Nico, McBride, Javonte, Ridley, Kyle, Anderson, Lawrence, Downs, Waller. Any moves? Okay. This is something we had to deal with another team earlier in the live stream. If you're rostering 3 QBs here, you may be in a spot where we honestly just have to go through and cut Trevor Lawrence, operating under the assumption it's a 1 quarterback format. You're not going to be able to sell him for anything. You're never starting him over Kyler or Stroud. So I don't really see too many trades, but if you wanted to cut Lawrence, I'm not going to follow you. If he's your QB3 on your roster, and I mean, you could try to trade him. I just don't think you can. Semi-Pro says Keaton Mitchell upside over. Hell no. Please go Pacheco. Please go Pacheco. Stroud, Henry, Waddle, Tank, Kincaid, Devonta, Kirk starting. Jefferson, the IR, 5-5. Still need wins now, yes. Do not overthink this. Keaton Mitchell should have an expanded role. If you think it's going to be so large where you want Keaton Mitchell over Pacheco, just go take Gus Edwards for fewer than 48.5 rushing yards this week. Skyward says Tua, Hall, Jones, Hill, AJ, Goddard, Javonte, Bijan, Higgins, Cook, Watson. Do I sell Hill and Cook for Kincaid, JT, and Cup? So Hill to JT, Cup, give me Hill. Cook to Kincaid, give me Kincaid. Single flex league. Or trade Tyreek and Bijan for, I would say no. I mean, I like the guys that you are getting. The issue is, if you are just looking at the value that you have from Tyreek Hill, nobody comes close to him. Tyreek Hill right now is averaging 25 points per game. The next guy's A.J. Brown at 22.5. If I was going to do a deal, it'd be the first one, but I mean, I really don't want to be trading Tyreek Hill. Myth says 10-team full BBR, Burrow, Addison, St. Brown, Pollard, Jacobs, Hockenson, Gibbs. And then on the bench, Chuba, Waddle, Downs, Brian Robinson, Kyler, HN. Any thoughts and trades? Won the last 3. I'm currently 6-4. I mean, great team. Super boring advice. If you could possibly sell Kyler and go. Honestly, we have so much depth here as well. I think that what we're looking to do is, 1, start Waddle over Addison. And 2, if you wanted to go through and send like Brian Robinson and Addison and go get a stud wide receiver with the flex now that you have HN coming back in, that is a move you could afford to make. Adam says 12-team BBR just traded away Amonra, Kyron, and Montgomery for Bijan, Olave, and Hockenson. So Amonra to Bijan downgrade, Kyron to Olave up to you, Montgomery to Hockenson is an upgrade. Thoughts on the trade? Probably gave up a little bit too much in a full BBR format. You know, I'm not going to complain to trade for Bijan Robinson, Okamorts. My team is now Hurts, Walker, Bijan, Jacobs, A.J. Brown, Olave. Okay, so great team, especially as we add in Hockenson to the roster. My only hesitation is trading away Amon-Ra St. Brown in a full PBR format when you have such a safe target projection for him every week. Caleb says just traded Hopkins, Charbonnet for Deontay to the Kenneth Walker owner. Let me know your thoughts. It's okay. The wide receivers are really up to you. If you'd rather have Deontay than Hopkins, go ahead. We have Burrow, Goff, HN, Mixon, Kyron, Keaton, Hunt, Tyreek, Tank, Hollywood, Deontay, MT, Kincaid, Goddard. Yeah, solid team. I probably actually would have preferred the Charbonnet side because I think the wide receivers are right about the same, and you're essentially just getting Charbonnet for free, who does have league-winning upside if something were to occur to Kenneth Walker. Smoke the Cat says 12-team single flex. Burrow, Chase, Lamb, Bijan, Jacobs, Kincaid, Brees, and then on the bench, Gibbs, Charbonnet, JSN, Godwin, Najee, Taysom. Should we trade Brees and Gibbs to get Jefferson? Thanks. Thank you. I would say no. I mean, I like the idea if you want to trade Gibbs and Godwin to go get Jefferson, or Brees and Godwin to go get, then sure, let's go ahead and make that move. But to go through and sell both top 10 RBs, I don't think we're going to do it. I'm rooting for Dobbs. He's still not Cousins in terms of passing volume. Daniel says 10-team at BBR, Mahomes, CMC, Gibbs, Olave, Amari, Thomas, Javonte, Algier, DJ, Gus, T, Goddard, Foreman, Noah Brown. Got offered Javonte for Ayuk. Do we take it? If it is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, I would probably rather have Javonte over Ayuk now that you're getting Deebo Samuel back in. And Javonte is just going through and expanding his role like crazy. Now, Antonio says 12-team at BBR. We have Pat, AJ Keenan, Saquon Pacheco, Jones, Puka, Jacoby Singletary. I'm trying to trade for a very great playoff running back for Saquon. What are your thoughts? I mean, I would love to move off Saquon. If you wanted to move off Saquon and instead, if we're just thinking for the fantasy playoffs, I think Bijan Robinson would be someone that I'd rather have. Obviously, Saquon's been much better than Bijan so far this season, but I mean, Bijan does have the #1 playoff schedule of any running back in fantasy, and Saquon has the worst playoff schedule for any running back in fantasy in weeks 15, 16, 17. Elliot says 12-team at BBR single flex. Fields, Dobbs, CMC, Montgomery, Madison, Chuba. Olave, McLaurin, Nico, Pickens, Myers, Ferguson. Just don't know what to do. Any ideas for improvements to make? Really, we just need Justin Fields back and healthy. But honestly, I think it's a very well-balanced team. We're not looking to do too much. If it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I'd like to package together 2 of these receivers like Pickens and McLaurin to go get an upgrade in the starting lineup. Multi-flex league, probably going to be sitting on our hands here. Very well-balanced team overall. We just need it to be performing a little better. And I'm going to be looking to hold Montgomery in a half PPR. Now, Caden says 12-team BBR 6-4. We have Allen, Saquon, White, Hollywood, Keenan, Hockenson, Taysom, Chuba, Charbonnet, Watson, Rasheed, Gabe Davis. Any moves? Appreciate you, my friend. Going back to what we were talking about previously, moving off Saquon, I do think makes a lot of sense based off his offense, based off his schedule. We don't really have a ton of depth here with this team, so really down there at the bottom end of the team, we're just going to continuously churn waivers. Don't panic with Allen. Allen's going to be great from a fantasy perspective. Honestly, strong team in a full BBR format. Really, just pivoting off of Saquon would be a priority. Nico says, Mahomes, Diggs, Olave, Pittman, Bijan, Walker, Stevenson, White, Schultz. Great team. I mean, if you wanted to see if we could sell Stevenson, if he's like RB4, package him with Olave and go get a better wide receiver, you can. Now, BB says Stroud, Connor for Henry. Quarterback 1 is Allen. I would rather try to get someone else in a full BBR format. Henry's not going to be the guy we're looking to trade for. But I think that should be it for this live stream. I'm about to piss myself, ladies and gentlemen, so we are going to call it here. But thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. You know, I'll be live tomorrow, the day after, the day after, the day after. You know, I really do appreciate you spending every single day with me. It is incredible that y'all still do. So I really, really appreciate you not leaving me so far. But thank you for everything. I really hope I get to see you tomorrow night. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe. If you want to check out any of those pick'ems, I like Tank Dell more than 49.5 receiving yards. Find the link to Underdog in the live chat, description, comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% a positive match, plus our rest of season rankings and tiers, and a Joe Burrow special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. But thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow night.